Oh, Jesus Christ. Needed it. Needed it. It's the playoffs. Style points. Regular season thing. We can sit here and we can contextualize this win. We can make excuses why this win was not a huge win. We can talk all about how this win does not change the series one bit, although I have a disagreement with that. And we could talk about all the reasons why they almost did not get this win. And we're going to talk about them. But it was a win. And for this franchise that has not come by many of those in the playoffs period, let alone in the second round of the playoffs, that is a big fucking deal. And I cannot wait to talk all about this game, and I cannot wait to let the emotions flow. We got Benji coming up here. We got Andrew in the house, the whole thing. Before I get to any of that, I take a quick 10 seconds to shout out Richard Bornvanek. Richard Bornvanek is one of our patrons. I was just happened to be looking for the link for this from Andrew. Check my DMs, and has a medical thing where he needs Knicks Nation to help him pull through. So, Richard, if you're listening, we got your back, man. Just like the Knicks had your back tonight. So much love and support to you, my friend. Okay. To this game, which, oh my goodness, what a game. I'm not going to talk about any X's and O's of this game because I want to bounce some things off Benji, who is much smarter than me when it comes to analyzing this sort of thing. I will just talk about this, which is basketball makes a lot of sense sometimes. It is in many ways the most predictable sport. If you look at who the greatest players are and you look at the teams that surround them, you kind of get a good idea, within 2 or 3 teams who's going to win the championship before any given year. And, occasionally there's exceptions to that, but for the most part, it's a sport that going into series, going into seasons, going into postseasons, you know what you're going to get 9 times out of 10. That being said, it is a sport that within seasons and certainly within playoff series has ebbs and flows. And those ebbs and flows oftentimes don't make all the sense in the world. So this series, Jimmy Butler in for game 1, Heat win game 1. Jimmy Butler out for game 2, Julius Randle back for game 2, was excellent for game 2, mind you. And the Knicks come out and play worse. Do they play a little bit worse? Do they play a lot worse? How much credit do we want to give to Miami? We'll get into all that stuff in a bit. But in no uncertain terms, the feelings that we were all for as much as game 1 was an unpleasant experience for the most part, at times, whatever unpleasantness we were left with game 1 was exceeded, perhaps at times exponentially, by the Knicks play in this game. Game 2. And that was without Jimmy Butler. So again, your logic just kicks in there and say, well, if they lost game 1 and they look even worse in game 2 through, let's say, 3.5 quarters of game 2, then what the fuck does it make a difference if they win this game? Even if they eke it out. And this is where I'm going to go back to something I said during halftime of this game. And we kind of talked about it after game 1, which is that the Knicks in game 1 and the Knicks through 3.5 quarters here in game 2 were not playing Knick basketball. In fact, they were playing as far from Knick basketball as you could possibly fathom, as my youngest daughter makes her guest appearance, hopefully to be short-lived. Shout out to my youngest daughter. She got diagnosed with Coxsackie earlier tonight. Also, shout out to my wife for having the instinct to bring her to the urgent care to get that diagnosis. So I watched the first half of this game on my phone in my car. But thank God we have an urgent care near us. So this has been quite a night for me, as an aside. Anyway, back to the analysis of this game. Through 3.5 quarters, we hadn't seen the Knicks play Knick basketball. And they weren't getting closer to playing Knick basketball. They were getting further away from playing Knick basketball than they were at the start of the series in game one. Further and further and further and further away. This was obviously distressing because the one thing we had to fall back on this year, throughout all of the trials and tribulations, ups and downs, this, that, and the other thing, injuries, was the Knicks knew who they were. They knew how they wanted to play. And starting in the beginning of December, after that terrible Mavs loss, they played that way for the last two-thirds plus of the season. And they certainly played that way in the first round of the playoffs, which is what was so encouraging and exciting about the first round of the playoffs, because we saw them stick to their guns while the team that they were playing got rattled. Well, now the shoe is on the other foot. Here's my point. For as much as it is, and look, it may come to fruition that he could win the next 3 games in the series. Nothing would shock me. But for as much as it is tempting to logically say, well, the Knicks barely won this game without Butler, they're going to Miami, what the hell chance do they have? The Knicks weren't where they were after 7.5 quarters of this series because of the Heat. Yes, the Heat are excellent at taking you out of what you want to do and capitalizing on that, which God knows they did. But it was still the Heat taking them out of what they wanted to do, and it was the Knicks not doing what they wanted to do and not performing as they are accustomed to performing and not playing Knick basketball. What we saw in the final 5 or 6 minutes of that game, that was Knick basketball. That was the Knicks that we've come to know and love this season in every way, shape, or form. They showed the resilience. Their big players made big plays. And they trusted. They trusted themselves. They trusted the pass. They trusted to make the right play. That is Knick basketball. We are not going to out-talent you, but we will outwork you. We will out-execute you. And most of the time, we're going to win. At least that's been the way it has been for the last 4+ months. So I think, with all due respect to Jimmy Butler, who is, oh my God, is he a great player? Even though he is coming back, I do not think that this series is over by any stretch of the imagination. Because the most important thing the Knicks needed to do tonight, despite how poorly they played for most of the evening, was get back to playing how they know how to play and how they are capable of playing. Will that become more difficult with Jimmy Butler back? Absolutely. But was that the most important hurdle that they needed to clear? 100%. They cleared it. Now, can they stay on this path? They've been a great road team all year. They're going to go and look, and again, style points, first thing I said, don't matter. It doesn't matter how they win one of these next 2 games. If they just win one of these next 2, just win one. Doesn't matter how you do it. Doesn't matter how ugly it is. Doesn't matter if it's finally maybe a game where the Heat really can't hit anything from 3. Just win one more. And that is what I wanted to say. And as talk about a night that has gone sideways in about 18 different ways between my daughter and this Knicks game. Benji just chimes in on the chat that he's nervous when his mic isn't working. Benji, it doesn't matter. The Knicks mics weren't working for most of this game. Let's bring you on up here. Benji Ritholtz. I can't hear you, so no, your mic isn't working. Appropriate enough.
Oh, boy.
This is fantastic. This is the only way to start this post game with Benji Ritholtz acting like the Knicks did for the first 3.5 quarters of this game. I absolutely love it. That's okay. I could vamp for a little bit more. Well, maybe Andrew and Benji can talk offline, and Andrew, maybe you can
how
FaceTime or something so you can talk through it.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, go through it. Listen. I got this. What's the problem? No problem here. All right. It gives me a chance. Because this is something I can certainly do without Benji's assistance, to talk about Jalen Brunson. So I was getting a little nervous at halftime, as I'm sure many of you were, despite the fact that we got back in the game, that Jalen Brunson had hit one field goal in this game. Julius Randle. We're going to talk a lot about Julius Randle and RJ Barrett. And God knows they don't win this game without Julius Randle and RJ Barrett. Jalen Brunson is the difference between this year's team and last year's team. And last year's team had talent. Last year's team had Julius Randle. Last year's team had RJ Barrett. And last year's team won 37 games. And if they could just close, they might have won. They certainly, I think, would have been an above 500 team. And they might have approached their win total this season. The reason they couldn't is because they had a rotating cast of characters not named Jalen Brunson at point guard. So I thought it was so appropriate that after RJ and Julius brought them to the place where those two guys need, because Brunson didn't have it in the first half or something was going on. God knows nobody else had it for the Knicks in the first half. Those two guys brought them to a certain point. And then when it got past that point, and Julius more than RJ had some big moments in the second half as well. I don't want to sweep those under the rug. But, like, that is why you go get yourself a point guard. And the fact that they got themselves this point guard who, again, like, guys who are able to score 23 points in the second half of a playoff game when the entire defense continues to focus on them first, second, and third. If you could score 23 points in that situation and end up with 30 for the game, like, those are not players that you pick up on the street. Those are not players that become available in free agency. Those are players that change your life as an NBA franchise. And Jalen Brunson changed the Knicks' life as an organization. And they didn't have to give up any draft. Well, excuse me. They had to give up a second-round pick to get him. They didn't have to give up a max contract. They just signed him because another organization was too stupid to realize what they had. And thank the good Lord for the Dallas Mavericks' incompetence. What a perfect way to put a bow on this night. The Mavs and the Heat, two teams that have been connected by multiple NBA finals, joined together in this one. We thank the Mavs for their incompetence, and it allows us to beat the Heat. And on that note, take two. We're going to do it. You're on mute. That's the only thing I see. If can you...
Do you hear me? Do you hear me?
Listen. You waited until midway through the fourth quarter, but just in the nick of time. Just in the nick of time, my friend.
Oh, man. Just in the nick of time is the theme of the night.
Oh, man. I'll just come out right and ask you before we get into any analysis. Did you think they were going to, midway through the fourth, when I'm trying to think at which point should I ask you about? When they were down 6, when they were down 6, did you think they were winning this game?
I never thought they were out of it. I
didn't think they were out of it either, but I'm saying
and at halftime, I'll say at halftime I thought they were going to win. Yeah, I think at all times I kind of felt like they were going to win because I just didn't think Miami could sustain the offense. They almost did. But ultimately, it was just a gritty, grinded out win in between two teams that are known to do so. Just grind out games. You knew you had to win it that way. It's never easy in the playoffs. It's never easy. I don't care who's playing. I don't care who's not playing. I don't care what you think the talent disparity is. When you're in the second round of the postseason and there's this much attention to detail on both sides, it's going to be hard. All you got to do is look at last night's game.
She took the words.
It's like we don't, and as I've said this throughout the regular season. Forget about the regular season. Let's talk on the playoffs. Like all the more so, it's the case. Whenever you think a team's overmatched, that's like when they give you everything they have. It's NBA basketball, man. These guys are all good. On that? Please.
I hate to sound like old talking head guy, but isn't that the biggest difference the three-pointer has made? Once upon a time, if you were missing your star player, it was harder. It wasn't impossible. It was harder to come up big in big spots. When you have a team like the Heat have, like, is there high variance level with their three-point shooters? Of course there's high variance level. Are they capable of having a night from three like they had tonight? Yeah, they had like this, where it's, team up by 6 or 6 minutes left.
They're also freaking just tough MFers through that roster. Like that, like you just had like there were points in that I guess it was early fourth where the Knicks were making their runs, and every time it was a Gabe Vincent tough baseline 2, a Caleb Martin 3, an offensive rebound. Like, look, they are tough as nails. They are tough. They are confident. They don't care. They're not nervous. No, they don't shrink.
Nope.
Like that. That's just what you're dealing with. The crowd was incredible, and they never shrank from the moment for 1 minute. And you have to give credit to the opponent. You have to. If you have like any basketball intelligence, you have to give a lot of credit to the opponent, both in game 1 and in game 2. Their offense is hard to guard. It has more motion and movement than anything the Knicks guard on a day-to-day basis. It is hard to guard all those dribble handoffs with shooters sprinting off the corner. It's hard to deal with Bam on the short roll. It's hard to deal with Caleb Martin slashing and crashing the offensive boards because you're paying attention elsewhere. Like that is hard to guard. And ultimately, the Knicks did a pretty decent job, even though it felt like at times they were giving everything up. It's hard. The playoffs are hard. They're always going to be hard. It's a game they had to win, and they won it. Credit to them for that.
Were there a couple breakdowns? Yeah, there were a couple breakdowns. The Bam
plenty of breakdowns.
Yeah, the Bam red carpet. There was a breakdown late that sprung. I think it was Love that had the opportunity from the
Love had a wide open three and checked back in.
He just missed that one. I don't know. We could go through 5, 6, 7 more. I don't know exactly how many there were, but by and large, and especially, and you've talked about this a lot with the way Miami has perfected going right up to the edge of the cliff with the screening, but they don't get called for it. And
nope.
I mean, you think they practice that?
100,000,000%.
You know, and look, that's a skill. That's part of the reason why Bam Adebayo is going to be in the All-NBA conversation for every year, you know, for the next 5-10 years of his career. That is something he brings that is a real NBA skill. We'll get back to that. I want to end with you with the positive. Let's hit on some of the negatives because, look, there's some negatives here. My biggest critiques throughout the game with the Knicks were threefold. One, on the players, I think the second unit guys were not necessarily up to snuff, with the exception of Isaiah Hartenstein, who, boy, talk about, oh my goodness, unheralded. Talk about unheralded signing. How am I not going to give him one of the stars of the game after this game? He has to. I think he almost has to get one. It's going to be tough competition, but bench didn't really live up to it. Mitch didn't really live up to it. We did get some important baskets from Quickly in the second half. Some important defense from Quentin Grimes late in this game. Quickly also in for defensive purposes, but for the most part, that was one critique. Another critique I had was, and you talked about it, Grimes not in the starting lineup. Hart was. I thought that, and Hart ended up having a really big, impactful game. I thought that made, needless to say, I thought that made their life difficult on offense throughout much of this game. And then the third thing, I guess, would be, was there an adjustment that they could have made throughout the game to counter the threes that Miami was getting? So those are the three that I wanted to ask you about, and I will give the floor to you to anything else to comment on any of those wherever you want to take it.
Yeah, IQ and Obi were not good in this game. They had a really very, very poor stretch in the first half. Obi didn't do much good or bad in the second half. He got very few minutes, but IQ at least made a couple jumpers, a couple moves there at the end to kind of keep him afloat, which were big and
they all matter.
Important. But ultimately, we're just going to need more from him. We're just going to need more from him. And I understand the argument that he's not getting enough rope or leash, or
can you talk about that in terms of the usage and like where do you?
Yeah, he's not touching the ball as much. But that said, in that second quarter, Brunson was off the floor, Randle was off the floor, RJ was out there, but IQ was initiating a lot of those possessions that just went nowhere. He was very hesitant on a couple threes. The ones that he took were bad ones. So there's some chicken and egg in terms of like, is he getting enough touches to be in a rhythm but you know what? Like this time of year, you just have to come in and make an impact. It is what it is. Like I can sympathize with that argument and I think it's right in some ways, But as I usually do, it's going to come down to the player making the good decisions when he comes into the game and making the right plays. And I don't think he's been up to snuff defensively either, the way he normally is. I think he's been just a tick off on that end as well. So they're just going to need him to be a lot better.
Isn't the devil's advocate, like the guys whose the ball was in their hands was Julius Randle, thumbs up, RJ Barrett, big thumbs up, and Jalen Brunson, not thumbs up in the first half, but like I mean, what are we going to do? We're going to sit here and we're going to quibble about putting the ball in Jalen Brunson's hands in a big playoff game. Isn't that part of the discussion as well?
Absolutely. Yeah. I think most teams err on the side of the ball in their best players' hands in the playoffs. I think that's pretty normal. That's a pretty normal change from regular season to playoffs, is like their best player is just going to have it more. And IQ has suffered from that a little bit, but in the end of the day, he's got to contribute when he gets on the floor. He's got to make better decisions. He has to be solid. He has to make some shots. And he hasn't done that consistently in the postseason. He's been mostly poor, and we're going to need him to be better going to Miami now with a 1-1 series. So that covers number one. On number two, there's a reason, despite RJ being great throughout this playoffs now, since game 3 of the Cleveland series, just being absolutely great and blowing our doors off and blowing us away, there's a reason he didn't close this game. And he didn't close the game because, as we've been screaming to the mountains for a while now, Quentin Grimes is essential to that starting unit. Not because he's making any shots, because he's not, but because he provides spacing. They treat him differently. He can miss the next 10. They're going to treat him differently because of his reputation, because of his quick trigger, because of the way the jumper looks. Like, you just know what a shooter is when you see one. That's a shooter.
And you saw how many times did he? Sorry, real quick. How many times did he end up with the ball in his hands throughout those last bunch of minutes where he was in the game? And there was a Miami Heat player right there.
Flying
teleport there. They were there because they have to honor him.
And all of a sudden, you saw some space for Jalen Brunson to operate. That's not a coincidence. Barrett and Hart were both great. They do not all fit together very well when you have Brunson, Randle, RJ, and Hart. It's just not going to create enough space consistently. It's going to be hard to score with that configuration. It's a weird situation because nobody deserves to sit. RJ was great. RJ was great, but I give Tibbs a lot of credit for just kind of seeing how the floor opened up a little bit, not to mention the fact that as great as RJ was on the offensive end, he is struggling to stay in front of Miami's guards. He's just not that quick on the perimeter and running around all those screens. And Grimes, that's what Grimes does, man. Like, that's what he does. He's going to play good perimeter defense, and he's going to be a threat to shoot the three. And that changes everything for this team. I would still go back to that starting lineup, but regardless, I think it's clear that Quentin Grimes needs to play a lot in this series, no matter how many shots he makes. And you can take advantage of that. Look, there's depth here. You just have to use it smartly. I give Tibbs a lot of credit for at least closing with Grimes, despite RJ having a great game.
And then, I mean, look, we could all do the math. Like, if you not only put the centers aside, but you really kind of have to put Julius, the four aside. Although, I mean, is there a consideration moving forward in the series to get Hart and RJ minutes together at the 3 and the 4 as opposed to Obi? I wonder if that's something that you're shaking your head. Maybe.
I think you give Obi another game or two at least to figure it out. I thought, his game 1 was good enough offensively. He obviously just didn't have it tonight for whatever reason.
Give him another game or two.
You give him another game. I don't want to make anything. I don't want to do anything drastic yet, but I agree.
Even so, there's only so many minutes, and all of these guys, quote unquote, deserve to play, and someone's going to get the short end of the stick. It's unfortunate. And there's so many areas in which, after a game, win, lose, hindsight's always 20/20. Like, if you lose a game and the minutes are in a certain way and they lost the game, it's like, well, if you had played the different minutes, but it's tough choices. It's tough choices, and there's compromise abound. Did you think they could have done anything better or differently on defense as Miami was getting stuff off?
Man, yeah, there's so many plays where I just didn't feel like they were quite sharp enough. And even having said that, it's frustrating watching a team that doesn't have a ton of offensive talent, but they're running great stuff. And I don't want to take credit away from the difficult positions they were putting the Knicks into by running that great stuff. And they have playing to those guys' strengths. Like they stretch you out. Like I know none of those guys shot over 35%, but I think we all know they're dangerous shooters, and they've proven it in the playoffs. Whether it's Strus and Robinson and Love and even Martin, who I don't think is a good shooter, but he's making shots. Vincent clearly is a confident and good shooter. That puts a lot of pressure on your defense, especially on your fives, who are drop defenders for the most part. And even when Hartenstein was getting more aggressive, well, now you're super spread out. They're getting the ball to the weak side and hitting threes. That said, Brunson was atrocious defensively in this game. Yep. He was a traffic cone. He couldn't navigate screens. They attacked him relentlessly, and he just struggled brutally, mightily, could not make the right defensive play. And at times, it wasn't even about running through screens. It was like strong side corner. He's 3 steps off of Max Strus. It's like, what? Like he just wasn't good on the defensive end. So that needs to be cleaned up. And it's also just going to be an issue because he's not that good defensively. That's number one. And then a few plays here and there where it's like, the guy wants to pull for 3 and we're just not up enough. Like you just have to make these guys put the ball on the floor. You can't overreact to their whatever threat they might have of dribble penetration. Like you have to crowd them.
Which they got him a few times on dribble penetration.
They started to.
It happens.
You have to and also like Kyle Lowry's driving. He doesn't want to shoot, guys. He has no interest. Don't collapse like it's Jimmy Butler driving to the basket. Like just decisions like that where that being said, like ultimately they outshot them in this game. And they only ended up at 35% or something. It wasn't like they destroyed us with threes at the end of the day. They missed some good looks. But like,
and that's a Tibbs bet, right?
The
numbers are going to come back to there you go.
That's a Tibbs bet, and he never really got out of full drop, at least with Mitch. He's going to concede some of it, and Love is going to get off some threes because we're over helping, and it's going to be there this series. It's not going to be easy to stop. But I do think those things, and then the switching stuff just pisses me off. It's like we're getting stuck on like Brunson and Barrett switching between Vincent and Strus. Like we're showing 2 to the ball and letting you guys slip for 3. Just switch it, man. Like neither guy is stopping anyone on the perimeter right now. Just switch it and like live with it. That stuff we got to stop. That's got to go. But so those are the things I would clean up on the defensive end. I don't think it was a terrible performance. It was a frustrating performance at times. But look, the percentages did kind of even out as the game wore on.
Couple more, and then I'll get you out of here. Are you moving forward in the series? I don't know how I should phrase it. Should I do glass half full, glass half empty? Are you more confident in the offense moving forward in the series, or are you more confident in the defense moving forward in the series?
Good question. Offense. I'm more confident in this offense. I think. Great. I think hopefully they figured something out here with Grimes and making sure that he's on the floor at least a lot of the games to create some space. I mean, Miami literally played like a 1-1-3 weird mashup zone basically the entire game tonight. They were never really in a straight man. And I thought the Knicks, as the game went on, solved it. In the fourth quarter, they were getting good looks every time down. And Josh Hart in the corner, I think, was a good adjustment because that's where he's most comfortable shooting from. And that's where he's a threat. And they ignored him, but he was wide open. He made his shots, and he always makes them when it counts. That guy, doesn't he? I mean, he always comes up with the big ones when you need them.
2 of them, and then the one he missed got the offensive rebound.
I thought Randle had his way too. I mean, look, Jimmy Butler obviously gives them a lot on both sides of the ball. He's a ferocious defender too, and a tough one who creates turnovers and everything that he does. So that has to be taken into account. But I thought they solved some stuff as that game wore on. And Randle just put such pressure on the defense that you felt it in a lot of ways tonight, I thought, even though I started the game saying he looked bad. Everyone yelled at me because he made a lot of shots. But I don't think there's any question that he was struggling a bit physically.
Let's transition to, we'll finish up with these guys. So you just talked about Randle. I thought he ended up playing a great game.
Great.
I thought he was trying to make the right play every time. I thought he made the right play most of the time. I thought his passing out of the doubles in the first quarter was really good. Like all the obvious stuff we all see. And you want to talk about some big shots throughout this night, man. I mean, I don't know what his final numbers. I'll look up. Well, I have his final numbers right here. Why don't I take advantage of
3 for 9 from 3, which we'll frankly take. It's fine.
Absolutely, you'll take that. And you'll also take 8 assists and 3 turnovers. And, 25 points on 18 shots. Okay. It's like, this is the playoffs.
Yeah,
fine.
man. I mean, he had 25, 12 and 8 on like clearly a bad ankle against a tough defense. No complaints about his performance. Gutty as hell. The fact that he played it all, I think, was gutty. Made the right play most of the time. Defensively, had a few of the Julius moments. You just live with them. But here's what I'll say about Julius: he beat the hell out of them. He beat him up. Like him, Josh Hart, and Hartenstein. Ultimately, what won this game, the reason they pulled away, was because they just beat Miami up on the boards. They tackled them. Randle was elbowing Lowry in the face, got dragged down.
When Lowry dragged him down to the floor.
That game got so crazy physical, and the refs didn't know what to do. It was just guys on the floor. Everyone's holding their backs. Everyone's got an ankle problem. It's just a freaking slugfest out there. And you know who I want in a slugfest? I want Julius Randle, because he is one of the strongest people I've ever seen in my entire life.
And you know who else I want in a slugfest? I want Isaiah Hartenstein out there. That dude. Look, we love Mitch. Mitch won them the last series in the way that they won the last series. He was utterly dominant. Different series take on different tenors and feels and the whole thing. Isaiah Hartenstein tonight, man, like I just put I'm smiling a shit-eating grin for anybody listening the next day if you can't see me. How could you what can you say about Isaiah? I literally don't have the words. Just so many big plays, getting in there at the right moments. He can't be better.
No, he was just essential in that fourth quarter. I mean, everything he could have asked for on the boards. And then the pin-in screens that he sets, that and one with Brunson, Scott Foster.
Oh my goodness.
Interesting call, let's say the least. Look, I think Scott was the extender tonight. Scott was the extender tonight, and we love him for it. Because I think would say had the benefit of the whistle for all the complaining that we do. Well, we got some very favorable decisions there, including that huge 4-point play that changed the entire game.
Whatever issues with the whistle there were up until that point.
Oh man,
that made up for all.
Man, that's a huge call. Oh my god.
I was convinced. I was convinced so that was the moment I thought they were going to lose. I thought they were going to overturn it, and I was like, oh, they're going to take it.
Yeah. It was and also the ball that hit the rim, and Vincent had a layup. That was a layup. That's 2 points.
Oh my goodness!
The ball hit the rim, so that's 2 points, which is crazy. But whatever, who cares? We've gotten the wrong end plenty of times, so we'll take it. But like Hartenstein he was a beast. He gets his arms on offensive rebounds. He kind of just like swings his arms around and somehow punches the ball to different people. He's like a wild style of rebounding that somehow works. He's climbing over people. Just like the physicality they showed there. That's what this team's about, man. There was that one possession where they got how many offensive rebounds? 4?
Oh, yeah. That was – and it's funny because Miami had done the same thing on a possession earlier in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, that's going to be the one we're going to look back on maybe as like, oh, was that the thing that we couldn't overcome? We're seeing it with Kevon Looney with the Warriors where, you watch – and Looney's a better player than Hartenstein, to be very clear. But, like, we're smart enough, I think, about basketball as a collective basketball watching society that we are in 2023, where it's like, no, this guy's not just a role player, replaceable 5. Like, he's actually really special, and like he does a lot of special things. Like Hartenstein is like a slightly watered down version of that in all of the things that he does. Is he a perfect player? No, he's not a perfect player. But I think he's the best backup center in the NBA at the very least. And again, they don't win this game without him. All right. I waxed poetic about Jalen Brunson before. I don't know if there's anything else you want to say about JB. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of JB conversation tonight, but I wanted to finish up with RJ.
Yes.
I feel bad that he wasn't on the floor to end
Me
it.
too.
I completely agree with your analysis. And in the moment, I'm like, I actually thought it was more defensively why he wasn't out there for the reasons you were talking about. Just like he was having some trouble on those high screens and sticking with the shooters and the whole thing. But at the, with the shooting at the same time is a big one. And like, who would you rather have out there, RJ or Josh Hart? It's a tough decision. It's like, it's
tough. Josh Hart is he's won us too many ball games. You can't sit him. You can't.
And he won them. And he helped win them this ball game.
He's just proven it. He's proven it since he got here. He's just going to win you ball games in the fourth quarter. So
and
By the way,
yeah,
RJ shot it great tonight. I don't mean to say that he didn't. He shot it great tonight. I still think that Grimes gets a different level of respect as a shooter than he does. It's just that's how it works. Like that's how it's just different. And I do think that matters.
Yeah, and it's when you're the third banana, and RJ's, despite his performance in these playoffs, he's still the third banana on this team, and you aren't as automatic, or you're not as respected behind the arc, and you're not as good defensively, although he's been phenomenal for the most part defensively in these playoffs. Like, I get it why he's the odd man out, but that should not for 1 second diminish the continued emergence of a star player that we're seeing. And I don't think that's overstating it. Do you?
No, I don't. He's playing like a star. He has played like a star since game 3, right? It's been
game 3 of the Cavs series.
It's just been a steady performance of I get in the lane whenever I want. My floater is on point. I get to the rim, I get to the line, and I make the passes out when I don't have it.
Yes.
That has changed the calculus for me. Like, he's just seeing the floor for the most part with patience and with poise, with vision. He's attacking closeouts. Like, there was a play in the first quarter where he caught it, and he started running with it before he even caught it. Like, he just attacked it right away. He saw where the defense was going, and he was in the seam, got to his floater. Beautiful move. Like, that kind of stuff. He's found such a rhythm and a continuity about his game that it's like awesome to watch. So he deserves all the flowers. Blowing me away. I keep saying it. He's just blowing me away with the way he's playing over the last 5 games now, 6 games, whatever it is.
Blowing you away. I wrote it the other day. I was out. So for me to be out and to see this again, I'll say it's like seeing a ghost. I didn't think he had it in him, and my God, just never in my life have I been happier to be proven so blatantly, obnoxiously wrong about anything. But it's good to see.
Phenomenal to see. Let me just, before I let you get to all the super chats, because they deserve it, these fans. I want to talk to the fans out there. Here's what I want to say. I'm going to take you back to my very low level basketball. I never talked about my own basketball life on this.
I can't wait for this.
This is going to be my first time. Played D3 in college. We pretty much stunk my first 3 years. My senior year, we got whatever. We were good. First half of the year, we were really good. We were first in the conference. December game, we're late in the game. It's close. It's tight. It's one of these physical games. Nobody can score. The game was probably in the 50s, whatever. And I was the only senior on the team. And we get to the bench, and guys are freaking nervous. I was nervous. We're all just haven't been in a bunch of close games. Again, the first 3 years were kind of a wash for me. Now we're in these important tight games. We're all nervous. And I just said to the guys, I was like, man, this is why we do this. It has to be fun. It has to be fun. This is why we play for fourth quarter, tight game. For 3 years, we've just been in freaking on the wrong end of blowouts most of the time. This is why we do it. So try to enjoy it. Have some fun. The metaphor is obvious, right? There's anger in the fan base during this game. I get that Jimmy Butler's out. I understand how frustrating the game was for Knicks fans and how nerve-wracking and how much you just want to yell at the TV screen the whole time. And I see it in my tweets. People are angry. We got to enjoy it, guys. We have to enjoy it. This is why we do it. This time of year, all we've been doing is hitting the button on Tankathon to see what pick we're going to get over and over and over again until we see with first pick. How many times did it take you? It took me 24 times to get the first pick. How many times did it take you? That's what we were doing in May for the last how many years? Enjoy the ride. It's hard. It's always going to be hard, but this is why we do this. This is why we root for the team like this. They're here. They're playing great. They're tied 1-1 in a playoff series. It's going to be frustrating. It's going to be hard, but try to have some fun watching it because this is where we want to be in the end of the day.
And that was beautiful, by the way. Did you win the game?
Hell yeah. Beat Leaving College. Yes, sir.
I'm going to try to briefly channel Jeremy. It's also good time to probably remember as this game was going on. And you can't, this is not where anyone's mind was during this game, but try to ground yourself with the thought that this is not a Knicks team that has its entire future out the door. This is not a Knicks team that doesn't have any avenues to improve. This is a Knicks team that I love everything they did this year, and I completely believe in everything they did this year as legitimate and real. It doesn't change the fact that they are ahead of schedule. So if there was ever a team to listen to your advice about and just like, this is why we do this is why we watch, this is why we, this is why we're fans, it's this. I think it's this team. Even if they're not perfect, they were not supposed to be anywhere close to perfect. They were supposed to be a 500 team this year. They were not supposed to be a 500 team, and just won a second round playoff game.
And they're 3 wins from the conference finals.
Hello. It's just wild. All right,
guys.
Benji, you're the man. Thank you for
have fun. Sorry for the technical difficulties. Have a good time tonight. Enjoy it. Enjoy the win. Talk to you guys soon.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Andrew, you want to come up here for our duties and obligations? Wait, no, that's Benji. Okay, here's Andrew.
He's still here. Hi, Benji.
Oh, I don't know what,
sorry. I got to remove Benji from the stage if I got to. Benji, outstanding job today. Glad we made it through it. You're the MVP. You're muted now, so I couldn't hear a word you just said. So later, have a good night, Benji.
Bye, Benji.
By the way, more from Benji later this week. You're going to want to be part of our playback room is all I'm going to say. Playback created a new feature that will very much utilize Benji Ritholtz's skills. But more on that later. Personal injury report. Injury report. You want to go there first?
Yeah, let's do injury report. So, obviously, I'm just going through any quotes. Julius Randle was asked. Okay, here's your injury report. Julius Randle was asked after the game how his ankle feels right now. His answer: it doesn't even really matter. And then he also said that preparation so we could play for tonight was hell. Every day, just trying to get my body right. I just wanted to make myself available for the team. He played after it was game time decision. He played. We all thought he would play, and he did. It's funny watching the first half of this game. The guy that I was much more concerned about injury-wise was Brunson. I was like, man, maybe he's just off, and maybe this is how we go out with a whimper because Brunson just isn't Brunson.
So 2 things on that. One, I think that's part of why his defense kind of fell off a cliff. For whatever version of defense he usually plays, this was below that.
It was better than this.
Right, but that's my point. Is like there's a much healthier version of Brunson I think would be better, and this is where, good Lord, Eric Spoelstra, they're going to these 2 point guard lineups with Lowry and Gabe Vincent. Like Zach Lowe mentioned it on the pod with Van Gundy the other day that that lineup that they played out there in game 1 had played 9 minutes all season, and now it's just a consistent Gabe Vincent, Kyle Lowry rotation where they're playing together a bunch. And I think because the 2 quick point guards, regardless of what Kyle Lowry is, it's making it a lot tougher for Jalen Brunson to guard one or the other, which is where, to Benji's point, this is where you need Grimes because he can help guard a point guard, especially if Josh Hart is going to be playing bigger on the court, whether it's guarding Jimmy or guarding whoever's in place of Jimmy.
Yeah, and moving forward in the series, I mean, again, I don't know how many minutes they play, but I can't imagine we've seen maybe too many with Vincent, Lowry, Butler, Bam, and I guess the fourth there. It doesn't even matter who the fourth there is. Probably putting Caleb Martin out there as the fourth there.
Probably him or Love. Or they go spread it out more with Robinson.
Yeah, I mean, I don't get the sense that they've tried to hide Brunson on Love a whole lot in this series. I wonder if that's something they would do. I mean, listen, Kevin Love once upon a time, not too long ago, was one of the best low post players in the sport. So I don't know how much sense that makes.
John, it's not now.
No, it's not now. It's not now. But like, I know all he wants to do is shoot threes. But you know what? Then on the flip side of that, you know what Kevin Love could do? He could shoot threes right over Jalen Brunson. So I don't know if you could really hide him there either. Yeah. Like, they're gonna make life really tough, and that's the one continued knock on this player that has been a godsend to this franchise, and that, like, I would, if I had a third child, which is not going to happen, especially after tonight.
I was going to say that is not happening.
Not happening. But if I had a third child and he was a boy, I might name him Jalen. I might name him Jalen. I mean, the knock is always going to be like, the defense is what the defense is. And you have to have a really good ecosystem around him. And like the Knicks do have that, though. I think they have the capability to have a good ecosystem around him.
I may need your help in that department, by the way. I've been trying to convince Roe our first son's name should be Jalen Alonzo Claudio.
You know what?
You can vicariously help me and, name a child after Jalen Brunson that way.
For some reason, all I can think of just now is the George Costanza episode. Seven. It's neither here nor there.
Yeah.
Okay. So there's your injury report. Brunson played. Randle played. Jimmy Butler did not play. Spoiler alert: Jimmy Brunson's playing on Friday. Jimmy Butler is playing on, and not Friday, Saturday.
Yes.
Get
Deep breath.
Right. Deep breath.
Yes.
A lot of
you're hype. We're an auctioneer. I got it.
I'm very hype after
that was
tonight.
A fun final 7 minutes. Yeah.
When they were down by 6, and that play went to review, I thought they were going to lose the game.
Well, it's why, as we get to moment of the game, the first candidate I have, 7 minutes, 3 seconds left. Knicks are down 93-87. Jalen Brunson hits a 3. Isaiah Hartenstein is run over by Bam Adebayo. It's called, and they go to the replay monitor, and Scott Foster, while Jim Jackson, who I mistook for Greg Anthony, probably because I have a knack for slandering Greg Anthony. So my apologies, Greg, although, as I said on Twitter, all Greg Anthony slander is warranted, even when it's not.
Jim Jackson, by the way, former 25-point-a-game scorer, 1 year early in his career with Dallas Mavericks. That dude could ball.
Ohio State legend. Yes, if you were there, you remember. Knicks get the benefit of a 50-50 call, I guess, according to Jim Jackson, although Monty McCutcheon came on and clarified why the call went the way that it did. That's not even the call that I'm like, wow, the Knicks got away with one. It's just the first of many down the stretch that I was like, okay, the Knicks got the benefit of this. The second one I got.
The Brunson 3?
No. Well, okay, that's next. Don't get me wrong. We're getting to it. The Josh Hart 3 to tie it at 96.
Yes, but I'm going in order of like it has to be. So the Hartenstein Bam foul, Brunson not overturned. That has to be a moment of the game candidate.
Yeah.
The Brunson 3 that came later, the step back has to be.
I'm going in chronological order. John, that might be my favorite moment of Jalen Brunson's Knicks career because it was followed. It gave the Knicks the lead in game 2. Completely, as far as I'm concerned, you want to talk about biggest shots in Knicks history, like we did with the Josh Hart 3 in game 1 against the Cavs. That 3 to give the Knicks the lead is now, depending on how the rest of the series goes, is part of that conversation because it gives them a 99-96 lead, their first lead, like first 3-point lead in God knows how long. And then just because it spoke to my heart, the camera then pans to John Starks and Carmelo Anthony going nuts in the crowd. All of my favorite things happening at once.
So here's the problem.
What?
So that's 2 candidates. And we have 2 more hard 3s because both of them, I don't know which you felt was bigger.
The one after. The
104-100?
Made it a 4-point game. The first one tied the game, but the Knicks had just tied it at 93. Then it tied it again. And then the second one, it was the first time I was like, oh, I can exhale a little bit. A little bit. I didn't say it all.
Julius.
Listen, you want to know oh my gosh, Julius Randle. So Benji clarified it. Benji sent out his grades, and RJ got an A-. Josh Hart got an A. Jalen Brunson got it. Like all the A's that went out, and Julius Randle got a B+. And I was going to ask him what Julius did to get not an A for this game. Because I actually thought he gutted it out and played really well. And then I was going through the game log, and I remembered that turnover where he stepped on the line. I was like, oh, that's good enough for me to bump you down a letter grade. That's totally fine. He was outstanding today, though, by the way. So
outstanding.
The hard 3 to make it 104-100 would be the third candidate if it were me. I will say one very underrated moment. Now, the game played out like the Randle turnover might have erased it. It's 106-100. Knicks are trying to get the ball inbounds, just trying to use up clock. Ball gets to Mitchell Robinson. Credit to Spo. Their plan when Mitchell Robinson gets it down low is to foul him. Mitch goes to the foul line. My life flashed before my eyes. I just need you to hit one of these, big man. And when he hit the first, I wrote it down. It's like, this is the biggest free throw Mitch Robinson's made in his career.
Honorable mentions, the Mitch free throw, just a little bit before that, the 2 offensive rebounds on the same play, the first by Hart and then by Julius, and then Julius gets fouls, goes to the line to make it 106-100. That's an honorable mention.
Mm-hmm.
There was an Isaiah Hartenstein play there were a couple Isaiah Hartenstein plays right around the 5:35-minute mark of the fourth quarter. Those could be nominees. And then I always like to throw out a first half, like it's the first half, so it's not going to be in this conversation. But when Julius hit those back-to-back threes late in the first half, I mean, you want to talk about a game where momentum was going very clearly. And, you know, this is not a game you wanted to get down 10 in at any point in time. And those threes kind of staved off the, oh, my God, what's happening, like fully.
Yeah.
You know? So shout out to those. And, yeah, I think that's it.
I agree. Those would be the two first half moments. Now, I will say, I echo everything you said about RJ. It does suck that I don't have a moment for him, other than the fact that we've called it the RJ parlay, me and Mensa. You take RJ over 25 plus points, but you parlay it with RJ under 1.5 threes made. That was taken care of in the first quarter. He hit 2 threes in like the first 3 minutes. And I was like, oh, well, I'm going to just throw this ticket out. That parlay is not hitting tonight. Look, one big takeaway from this series, regardless of how it goes, how it ends going forward, I think I might have to retire my Miami Heat slander. They're the Patriots officially for me. Any disrespect I had or doubt in they have 6 of the best 8 guys. They have the best coach in the series, and they're the best player. But the coaching from Spoelstra in this game in this series so far has just been outstanding. And I'm officially, like I was saying it in our faculty chat, like this really is like coaching against Belichick, where you're the better team, you know that you're have an advantage talent wise, and yet for some reason you're not running the ball with Marshawn Lynch on the 1 yard line. You know,
yeah, he takes you out of what you want to do.
Mind tricks you, yeah.
Brady Butler comps interesting.
That's unfair to Tom Brady.
Who do you hold on?
What?
We just did a Patreon ranking of the players that you most want in the playoffs from here on in. And my co-host for that, whose name is escaping me at the moment, had Jimmy Butler.
Give me 1, yes.
Number 1.
Yeah, how many times I would have
rankings? I had Steph Curry number 1 and Jimmy Butler number 2.
And 2 days later, Steph Curry scored 50 in a game 7.
Yeah, exactly.
That's not meant to be a slight. I cannot believe I'm the one that has to do this. That's not meant to be a slight to Jimmy Butler. Tom Brady's the greatest quarterback of all time.
Yeah,
Jimmy Butler's not that.
Conceptually, for the first 10 plus years of Tom Brady's career, we were always figuring out ways to like slander him and diminish the accomplishments and make it more about the Patriots and the ecosystem and Belichick and the whole thing. Jimmy Butler has always been, really for his entirety of his career, been like, is he really a top 10 player? He's kind of on the cusp. He's right on the outside looking in, this and that. Now, obviously, is he going to play until he's what the fuck Tom Brady played 48? Probably not, because the NBA is a different sport and quarterback is a unique position. That said, I do think whatever. We don't need to have this conversation right now. Jimmy Butler didn't even play, but like that's where I was going with that. That's all.
That's fair. And to your point, like the peak of their powers really started into their 30s. So if you wanted to go that route, fine. Yeah. Brady had 3 Super Bowls in his first, like he was 11-0 in his first 3. 11. As somebody who saw it closely. And by the way, anybody, shout out to you, Alex. I know you're watching. Anybody that wants to bring up that Carmelo Anthony was in the building or was ready to bring up that Carmelo Anthony was in the building and that's why the Knicks lost, or Aaron Rodgers and Sauce Gardner were in the building and that's why the Knicks lost. Guess what? Those curses are over and the Knicks are heading down to South Beach, hopefully looking to take control of the series again.
I hope you're paying your therapist enough. Got a lot of issues there.
I'm fine. I'm very, very fine. My quarterback is Aaron Rodgers and the Knicks just won a playoff game.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm just making sure.
Yes. There's a Mets therapist that has a podcast that he's recording as soon as we're done with this, but I'm personally fine.
Because of you, I checked out the MLB grades that ESPN gave the other night, and I saw the Mets were like,
B+. Yes.
Yeah, there you go.
Like, no starting pitching, and they're getting a B+. I'll take it.
There you go. I love it. Okay. We got a lot of people that want to get their comments in. I am sure that, as always, Are we starting off with Robert Cross or no?
No, because a little behind the scenes, everybody.
Yeah, let's do it.
I create the event, the room for tonight that we're all a part of. I created usually around noon. This afternoon, created a little later, around 4:00. Great. So Around 4:30 is when the super chat started, and we start with a silent donation.
Harry Donut.
Harry
Who's the
Donut.
man, who's always been a silent donator, and when he has something to say, it's something good. So shout out to you, Harry, for getting us started. Thank you very much.
And then yet another one from
James Choi. Excited. Let's freaking go Knicks. IQ, Quentin Grimes, RJ, Mitchell Robinson, big games. Well, you got 1 out of 4. That's okay. That's fine. Listen, we all want the kids to play well in the playoffs, but it's the playoffs. It's a different animal. It's just tough, and this is where, it's tough. They'll be experienced the playoff.
Then we go to the Robert Cross.
Okay, here we go. Robert Cross. First time, long time. John, could you tell me how RJ Barrett looked in the first quarter? I'm just tuning in. I'm sure you were, Robert. I'm sure you were. He looked pretty good. He was, again, there are about 5 guys who you could say they don't win this game without. And RJ, I don't know if he's at the top of the list, but he's close. David Gradere, Miami moving screens. Bam is doing it every goddamn time, and they're calling fouls on us trying to get over. Played defense, lacking physicality on D. So the tough part there is you just called out the problem, right? You just called out the problem. They're experts at this thing, which is supposed to be illegal. So they talk about we're lacking physicality on D. Well, if they're calling fouls on us when we're trying to get around us, that is our attempt at physicality. It puts the Knicks in an incredibly, incredibly tricky position. And I don't know that there is some magic elixir because the Heat are so freaking good at this. And that's why I thought Benji's words were so wise to start us off tonight. Thanks, David. Robert Cross, it's your boy John. This is an APB for IQ. Has anyone seen this man? Hashtag 53 wins. Look, better players than him. I mean, Jesus Christ. Let's just go right to the highlighter, right? I'm old enough to have watched the either greatest or second greatest player in the history of basketball get to a stage that was so big that he didn't want to shoot the basketball, playing hot potato with it. I watched that. And then we could go on and on and on and on and on down the list for players who, in the playoffs in various stages have just not quite, not again, I don't want to say like cowered under the bright lights because that puts such a negative connotation on it. But like there is something to this atmosphere and being ready for it and being able to do it. Sometimes it takes time. And if IQ isn't ready for that moment right this second, that doesn't speak to who he is as a player or what he's going to be for his career. It might be an encumbrance on them in this playoffs. And by the way, we're talking about a player who made not 1, but 2 very important baskets in the fourth quarter of this game. So if they put out an APB for him, he came through in a way that, like, look, does it make up for the game he had overall, the series he's had overall, the playoffs he's had overall? Maybe not. But, like, I won't forget those couple of baskets. Those were big baskets. Thanks, Robert. Another one from Robert, first time, long time. John, Julius saw Bam and said, bang, hashtag 53 wins. I wish I remembered what play you were talking about, but I thought Julius, again, we've been critical of him specifically in this matchup over the year for treating Bam Adebayo like he was like a matchup advantage. I thought his decision-making tonight as to when to go out Bam, when to fire over Bam, when to pass, I thought it was exemplary. Especially coming off of that Cleveland first-round series and just generally how bad he's been. Julius, I'm talking about, in the playoffs. Perfect. Really couldn't ask for more. Thanks, Robert. Guy Huber, then. I spent all year praising Tibbs, but these lineup decisions with heart and overhelping and playing drop against a team that only shoots threes is something. So the problem with that criticism specifically, the reason you're playing drop in part is because the screener there is Bam Adebayo. And Bam Adebayo is one of your better rolling centers in the league. He could score, he could pass, he could do all the things. And if you have your center, whether it's Hartenstein or Mitch, all the way up to the level, well, then you're relying so much on your help. You're giving your center basically no chance to cover Bam as the roller. And Bam is like, oftentimes your help guy is like Jalen Brunson or Emmanuel Quickly or whoever it is, like a small player. So I think it's a little bit again, these are really good actions the Miami Heat are running, and they are tough to guard. Now, as far as the lineup decision with Hart and over Grimes, and as far as the over helping as opposed to just switching, that stuff I think you nailed. And Benji talked about it earlier. And by the way, again, you're playing drop against the team that only shoots threes. What do they end up shooting tonight? The odds usually end up equaling out and being in your favor. But get Grimes in the starting lineup and stop with these crazy doubles. Robert Cross with another one. It's your boy John. Tibbs is being outcoached by Spo, and the officiating has been garbage. I mean, agree. Tibbs has been outcoached by Spo, but I also think he made the necessary adjustments as the game went on. I think he made some tough decisions as the game went on. And I thought Tibbs coaching, as much as it may have contributed to them being in a dicey game to start, contributed to them winning a close game in the end.
I co-sign everything you just said. This was sent in the second quarter.
Yeah, so, and it's
giving you context. That's all.
Yeah, that's good to know. Okay, we'll keep them going. James Choi, halftime zone all year, and we're still not sending someone in the middle. Brunson on Robinson and Strus is a mistake. Those are wide open shots. You got to hide Brunson somewhere. No easy answers there. And then as far as sending someone in the middle versus zone, I thought they attacked the zone okay for the most part this game. RJ was a big part of that. Look, what they end up scoring tonight? With by the way, stretches of this game where I thought absolutely the lack of spacing was killer. They scored 111 points tonight, so can't complain too much. Frank Miranda, what's up back? It's your boy Frank from Patreon. I'm sending this in the beginning of the third. The Knicks are down by 6. Sorry, we're not winning the series. This feels like Atlanta from 2 years ago. The Knicks need more shooters this offseason. Look, can they lose the series in 5 just like they lost the Hawks series in 5? Yeah, absolutely. It's possible. I don't think that'll happen. But do the Knicks need to pick up more shooters in the offseason? Probably. But there's also it's not just about picking up shooters. Like there needs to be probably a slight roster retooling, reconfiguration, which could involve some dicey decisions that we're not going to talk about tonight. Thanks, Frank. Robert, another one. It's your boy John. I'm going to counter Frank from Patreon's post. We're winning the series behind the play of RJ Barrett. #53 wins. RJ had a wonderful game. And if they win this series, he will be a big part of it. I hope they do. James Choi with another one. Mitch is playing up on Bam at the 3. Why? No point. Because easy buckets on passes and a bad switch. Milwaukee was defending him at the free throw line. He doesn't shoot threes. Mitch hasn't been great defensively in the series. I agree that you don't need to play him up there. At the same time, the Heat are really smart, and Bam is really smart, and Bam is really good when you give him a runway. I think I didn't see a ton of that throughout this game, but I don't think Mitch was great tonight in general. Yeah. Richard, here's Richard. Okay. Not what we want so far, at least, but whatever the outcome, however much the hurt, we stay true. New York Knicks forever. Again, big shout out to Richard. I think having he has something coming up later in the week. I'm not going to reveal anything, but everybody send your good wishes to Richard. He's a great Knick fan, longtime Knick fan, especially. So yeah, thank you, Richard. Appreciate that. Robert Cross with another one. First time, long time. John, the Knick that has Bam on an illegal screen should put him in the hospital for real. #53 wins. They got to sign Xavier McDaniel. I don't think Charles Oakley's welcome back in uniform. Someone, yeah, it'd be nice, but I mean, not it would be nice. It would be nice to counter what they are doing. I do not want to put Bam Adebayo in the hospital. To be clear. Dan Hidalgo, what's going on, Dan? Every time there's a scramble and the Knicks blow up a play, a weak side defender leaves the open man across the court. That's at least the third time now. Incredibly frustrating. And as Benji alluded to, there were breakdowns in this game. There were absolutely breakdowns in this game. Their defense was scrambling. It was not sound. It was jittery. It was frantic. It was not I was going to say it's not what we've become accustomed to this year, but the Knicks have the 19th ranked defense in the league. They just didn't play good defense tonight. Like they like give credit to Miami. Miami did a lot of things, took them out of their comfort zones. What Miami does, the defense was not great tonight. Came up with some big stops when they needed to, but defense was not great tonight. It's an issue. Thanks, Dan. Bulldog boxing promotions. Did Scott Foster give us a gift on the 4-point play? Man, if you asked Jim Jackson, I guess he did. I don't know about that one. Robert Cross, it's your boy John. In Jalen we trust. Hashtag 53 wins. I'm assuming this was after one of several big baskets that Jalen Brunson hit in the fourth quarter. Another one from Robert Cross. Hart, hashtag 53 wins. I don't even know if this was the first or the second three. That was the first because this is the second. Robert Cross, Josh Hart, bang! 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 I don't know if it would have got a double bang. Dan Hidalgo, white knuckle game, drink a beer if you got one. I got my bourbon, which I'm going to need to have Andrew come up here in maybe 20 minutes, half hour or so I get a refill, but we're good for now. Robert Cross, it's your boy John, on the verge of tears several times in this game. This is a team to be proud of, finally, after all of these years. Hashtag 53 wins. Yep. I was proud of this team after the first round. I mean, I was proud of this team all year long. I was proud of the team when they got to the playoffs. I didn't need to win the first round series to be proud of this team. I don't need to win this series to be proud of this team. You didn't want to see him go out like it felt like they were about to go out. Doesn't mean we wouldn't have been proud of them regardless, or should have been proud of them regardless, but yeah. Big win tonight. Dan Hidalgo with another one. Everyone's thinking it. It's a bold move to change the starting lineup when we've been so successful with Grimes. May not be a bad move, but a bold shakeup. I'm sticking with what Benji says. I agree. I think Grimes should be in the starting five. I do think they need that spacing. Now, that said, and again, I was kind of all over the place, and Benji was having mic issues, so we didn't get a chance to talk about it. Look, the notion that Tom Thibodeau is just coming into this game and being like, all right, I'm going to keep starting Hart, and ignoring the main issue here, which was the lack of spacing, is crazy, because what did Josh Hart do when he got the ball several times in the first quarter and throughout the game? He drove it, and there were good drives, and a lot of times, like, Josh Hart got good looks at the rim and didn't convert. Like, if he had converted a few more of those looks, we'd be having a different conversation. He ended up 4 for 11 in this game, and specifically 2 of 7 from 2-point range. So he missed 5 2-point shots. That's a lot for Josh Hart. He also ended up with 9 assists. So, like, there are different ways that you can help your team. I think Grimes spacing is more important. But again, like, we could all sit here and be like, how is he not doing this obvious thing? They need the spacing, this and that. Like, reasonable minds would differ. But the reason I always kind of push back against these, oh my God, the coach is an idiot, how is he doing this thing, is because it kind of implicitly ignores the fact that, like, you could take a situation that is not a perfect situation, Josh Hart, lack of spacing, and try to flip it around and use it to your advantage, which is the exact sort of thing that we see Miami do all the time, And the Knicks tried to do that. I didn't think it worked that well. It ended up working out in the end of the game. I'd go back to Grimes. Josso Focus. Tonight's musical representation is My Achy Breaky Heart. Oh my God, I hate that song. Billy Ray Cyrus, for obvious reasons. Is this how the whole series will be? Great team win. I completely think this is how the whole series will be. Totally. Haitian Ferg. I love hearing from Haitian. Again, it's like this. Haitian never says anything I disagree with. Randall's presence made the difference. Yes. Benching RJ made sense. Yeah, I hate to say it like that, but I agree with you. It made sense. We hit threes and defended when we needed to. The bench scares me to death. Grimes played solid defense in the fourth, but Obi was a 0 and IQ still isn't right. Let's go Knicks. Keep thinking back to, they mentioned it on one of the broadcasts. I think it was in the last series. I don't even know if it was a Knicks broadcast. Might have been another team's broadcast. Pat Riley's old quote: "Play 8, trust 7." Well, Knicks played. They played 9 tonight, but they also Obi Toppin saw 10 minutes. Emmanuel quickly saw 9 minutes. It's pretty clear who are the 7 guys he trusts right now. It's the 5 guys he started tonight, and it's Grimes, and it's Hartenstein. Those are the 7. And I think Quickly might be on the outside looking in right at the moment, and Obi I think is moving himself on the outside looking in, which is a tough break for Obi because Obi's had some really wonderful moments in the playoffs, including 2 days ago. Did some really nice things. The Quickly one is the surprising one. Robert Cross, legend of GMAC. I need Big Thread Ben to host an emergency live stream to explain Tibbs' approach to this game. Hashtag 53 wins. Robert, you won the game. Like, why you gotta? Again, you're acting like there's no logic to what the coach does. You know, it's tough decisions. You know, and they won the game. And they won the game in part because of the guy that the coach stuck in the starting lineup. And they won the game because Miami took 1 million threes and they only hit what percent of them? 35%. So coach made a couple gambles. They ended up paying off, even if we could disagree with them in the moment. Rich McLeod, maybe the least good I felt after a playoff win, but holy crap, am I glad they won. Come on, how do you not feel good about this, Rich? This is where you got to heed Benji's words. And I know this chat was probably sent before he said what he said. But, like, we're fans of the Knicks, man. We're not fans of the fucking Warriors or the Spurs, although the Spurs suck right now. Or the Heat, you know. Or, like, teams that just have had their shit together perpetually. We're a fan of the Knicks. Let's be thankful for what we got. We got a playoff series win. Or a playoff series win, and we got a playoff win tonight.
Clarification from Robert Cross in the regular chat. He was not complaining about Tibbs. He just wanted to hear what Benji's thoughts were.
Oh, well, he heard him, so I hope you're happy, Robert.
There you go.
Love it. Rich's comment. Oh, hold on. Brunson, something about Brunson. Brunson making Melo dance was such a personal highlight for me. Yep. Yeah, it was fun. Shout out to Melo. Once a Nick, always a Nick. Ryan Huang, still a long way from my hashtag Knicks in 7 prediction. That was mine too. But the way that this team and this coaching staff bounced back at halftime gives me hope. Let's freaking go. Hashtag JB is him. I think the adjustments got better as the second half went on. There were some nerve-wracking moments throughout the third and fourth quarter of this game. I'll just say that. Thanks, Ryan. Josh so focused. What's up, John? Are you surprised to see Grimes close over RJ? Nope. For all the reasons we talked about. Thanks, Joe. Jesse. What's going on, Jesse? Style points don't matter. The team is full of dogs, and it showed in the fourth, especially iHeart. I want to say something else about that, though, because, and I cited it before the series. I put it in a newsletter, said it with Jeremy. The Knicks have been in this situation so many times. They have been in this situation so many times this year. Nobody has been in this situation more than the Miami Heat this year, and if you want to take it back to like past years. So I think it being a team full of dogs mattered a lot. I think the bigger thing was like they'd been there, they'd done this, they were confident, and Jalen Brunson's presence. I mean, so you got to have someone on your roster to win the game. So, yeah. And Isaiah Hartenstein. Claudio Santos, what's going on, Claudio? Love him or hate him, Julius Randle is who he is. And after several playoff games, data points, now the whole league knows who he is. He's part of our puzzle, only cannot try to be the main piece. My favorite thing about Julius's game tonight was I thought he played completely and totally within himself. Like, think about it for a second. In the fourth quarter, Andrew, come up here for a second. I need you to filibuster.
What's up?
I'm sure Julius Randle took a shot, and I'm sure probably made a shot in the fourth quarter, but it seemed like he was very, 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 very willing to defer to Jalen Brunson in the fourth.
The answer is no, by the way. Julius Randle did not take a field goal attempt in the fourth quarter.
He assisted on Jalen Brunson 3 to make it 93 90. That was that great possession. That was the 4-point play.
Mm-hmm.
That was a great pass and look by Julius.
And the Josh Hart 3. Yeah.
He assisted on the Josh Hart 3 to make it 96-96. And then he assisted on the next Josh Hart 3.
Yep. He had 3 assists in the fourth quarter, along with 3 rebounds and no shot attempts.
And got that key offensive rebound, made both of the free throws. Like, you want to talk about growth from a player? And again, like, we take it for granted. Maybe we don't take it for granted. Maybe some people take it for granted. I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't have said that. But, like, this is a guy who made an All-NBA team 2 years ago and is going to probably make another All-NBA team this year. And he was comfortable with not taking a shot in the fourth quarter in his home building. You know, like, what's the meme with that's growth, right?
It's
from
Insecure. It's Kelly.
No,
so you know what that is? That's growth. Yes,
that's growth. But that's growth. That's real growth. Like we've complained. We spent so much time complaining about Julius Randle last year, and for parts of this year, and like certainly throughout the playoffs a little bit. Like, what more do you want?
It's why, like, I'm never gonna ever question Benji, and I'm not even in this next thing I'm about to say. I thought this was an A- game, like, up until stepping on the baseline giving me Anthony. Oh my gosh, you want to talk about your PTSD? So Julius steps on the baseline, Anthony Mason, like, because he's like losing his balance and leaning in.
Oh yeah, I know that I thought that.
I'm staring at the clock. The Knicks are up 6 with 24 seconds left, and I'm like,
well, no, not only that, but they just scored a 2.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then that happened, and then the 3, and it's like, oh my God, we're 1-3 away from 8 points in however many seconds.
I had the same. I'm glad we waited an hour and 16 minutes in to bring that up. I was just very much, I've seen this story before.
More than 2 for 18, more than the finger roll, more than PJ flipping Charlie. That sequence of events on that day, nothing will ever be burned into my brain more than that. So yeah, if you
wasn't that also on a special day in your life?
It wasn't on my birthday, but it was on the day that I was celebrating my 12th birthday.
Yeah. Which is coming up, by the way. So everybody be ready. Not your 12th birthday, obviously, but your next birthday. Is it a big number, John?
I don't know. Could we just put the next chat up? Please?
Next up.
Mike for Farinello. This game doesn't even feel like a win. Come on, Mike. Seriously? Bad job by you.
Emotionally. People react to stressful playoff games in their own way. Okay?
Yeah, but this, like, I don't know, man. That rubs me really the wrong way.
Yeah?
That really rubs me the wrong way because I look, I get it. I was feeling it. I had this. Look, we all felt the same thing watching this game. But, like, it's so hard to win a playoff game. It doesn't matter who you're going to. Again, I have to double down on what Benji said. And he said it before I could say it. Go talk to a Celtics fan today about how they're feeling. You know, and that the MVP of the league was out of that game. And they lost it. And your team comes up with just so many big plays at the end of this game. You know, like, you know, we've won 2 second-round playoff games in the last 23 years. Now it's 3.
Mike, John's doing the therapy thing of it could be worse. I'll go a step further. You could be a Boston Celtics fan. Imagine how they're feeling. You could be a Boston Bruins fan. Imagine how they're feeling. You could be a New York Rangers fan, making all these moves for Patrick Kane and Vladimir Tarasenko. There are many other. The grass isn't always greener on the other side. You know.
Last thing on this.
Your team won tonight.
Have respect for the opponent. Have respect for the situation. And how often we watch playoff games and inexplicably a team will be like, oh my God, did they forget how to play basketball? This isn't the team that I've seen for 82 games. I'm not even talking about our team. I'm talking about teams, right? Like, this isn't the team Like, again, go talk to a Sacramento Kings fan today. Like, that team just barfed all over itself when it needed to come up big in a Game 7 in their own building. Like, this shit is hard, and it is a different atmosphere. It's a different animal. And you're a fan of a team that came up so big in the last 6 minutes of that game when they needed to, and that needs to be celebrated. Yeah. It just does. I'm sorry to really go on a rant here, and I'm not trying to like make enemies here, but I just feel really strongly about this one.
I agree. I co-sign everything you're saying. And Mike, the only thing I'll add to this, you know what also doesn't feel like a win? A loss. So be happy that your team got the win tonight.
Barry Craver, what's going on, Barry? Lots of stars of the game tonight. Yeah, man, I don't know how I'm supposed to do this. I don't know. I might give myself an extra 24 hours to think about this one and just write a more emotional newsletter tomorrow. Anyway, but you cannot dismiss how important RJ and Julius in that first half were. Same goes for Isaiah Hartenstein and the Nova kids. I mean, we got five candidates for 3 spots. And I'm going to tell you, I got to tell you right now, I'm inclined to put Hart 5th. For his, I mean, obviously 2 massive 3-pointers, and he was, pretty good in a lot of ways all game, nearly had a triple-double. The only thing I'm feeling comfortable and confident about right this second is that I think Hart's going to be 5th, and that, what did he score? 2 points, 4 points? It doesn't even matter. I feel really funky about not giving Isaiah Hartenstein one of the stars of the game. Whew, man, he had 3 points. And yet I'm sitting there and be like, how do you deny him? How do you deny him a star of the game? Robert Cross, PSA reminder, we're the 1 win away from 53 wins. I know. And we'll throw a party if and when that happens. Would it be something if that happened? I hope it doesn't happen on my birthday, on my actual birthday, because that would mean that we're going to go down 3-1 in the series, and 53 wins will happen on my birthday. But wouldn't that be appropriate? Hamdi M, nice to have Randle back. His physicality is much needed. Completely agree. Totally. 100%. Dan Hidalgo, I don't want to hear any more Randle slander. Amen to that. He's not top 10. That doesn't mean he isn't an essential piece on this roster. Long live King Julius. The question is always, well, there's 2 questions with Julius. One, emotionally, mentally, whatever you want to say, can you as a basketball team count on Julius Randle to keep his shit together for 82 games, and then in a perfect world, 16 more games after that? I think that's one conversation, and that has, that has been a conversation this year at times. To say nothing of last year. And then, but I think the more basketball conversation is like, can this guy be, as a big who is still just kind of like a middling 3-point shooter and doesn't protect the rim, and most of his value is on the ball, because try as he might, and he does try a lot on defense, like he's never going to be a great defender. Can this guy be a piece of a championship winning core? That has been the question. And for me tonight, I think this was evidence towards the answer being yes. For me. Exhibition continues. The Knicks have to win it all soon. I don't know how many more of those I could take. We're not there yet. Although God knows in these playoffs, you might be famous last words. They're doing all the right things. As an organization. And tonight was evidence, by the way, of that. Eyal Oren Bausch feels it was too difficult to win. I'm worried. I'm not going to go on another rant, but I think bad job by everybody coming into this series being like, oh, I don't want to say bad job, because there were people at Knicks Film School who picked Knicks in 5, which, by the way, is still on the table. But I think coming into this series, a lot of folks were not paying nearly enough respect to what we were coming up against. And like should like the notion like that this was a tough game to win and thus we should be worried that he could win the next 3 games. They're a phenomenal fucking team. They have talented basketball players. Jimmy Butler's coming back. They have the best coach. I don't know who the best coaches since best coaches the last 30 years. 40 years. Best coaches the last 40 years. Spo, Pop, Riley, and Phil Jackson in some order. Spo's right there with any of those guys. That's so freaking valuable. Sam Garcia and exhale. Yes. Agreed. Alex, I can't stop with the body rock. See, I've got heart like John Starks. Wow, I can't unclench my sphincter. Can I unclench my sphincter now? Yeah, unclench it, man. Although you're gonna have to reclench it in 1, 2, 3 days, 4 days. Got 3 days off. Thank God, I need 3 days off. As I'm sure the Knicks do. Jason M, what's going on, Jason? Most stressful game of the decade. Needed that W. Yeah. Actually, I don't know. Was this the most stressful game? Most stressful game. Was there a round 1 game that was more stressful than this? I thought game 1 was really stressful. I thought game 1 was really stressful of the Cleveland series. I might have been more stressed out over game 1 of the Cleveland series than I was for the game. Yeah. Anyway. Chris Carter, this is not a serious team. I mean, God bless you for thinking that, you know. Anything else to say? DKK, shut the frig up, AL. New York Knicks run New York City. I don't know what that's in reference to, but I agree the Knicks run the city. And again, preseason, 38.5 wins. Just a reminder. Juanon, what's going on, Juanon? Can we put a picture of our starting center on a milk carton? Okay, this is fair. I need to know where he went because we need the guy who dominated Cleveland to show up to win the series. We need good Mitch to anchor this defense. So this is something that I want to have a longer conversation about at some point over the next week with someone who is smarter than me. It makes sense in my head, but like against a team like Miami, where you have to be like, let me actually go to the Cleveland series. Cleveland was a team, I feel like, that you can, like Mitch was able to exert his will on that series in a way where there was not much consequence for him. Like he wasn't challenged, I think, is the best way to put it. Like, yes, he was challenged occasionally to be dominant in pick and roll coverage. But like even that, he was like, the Knicks had such a sound and good game plan in that series, and they like knew exactly what they wanted to do. Like Mitch knew exactly what he needed to do, and the whole thing. Like, it's wrong to say Mitch wasn't challenged, but like mentally, like he knew what he had to do, and he just needed to be physically dominant, and he was able to be physically dominant. Like that was what he was tasked to be. Miami will just challenge you in different ways, and if you are not a totally and completely mentally. And I don't want to, this is going to come off as me saying like, oh, Mitch has like a low basketball IQ. That's not what I'm trying to say. But like, again, they force you to be put in uncomfortable situations. Like 1 pump fake, 2 pump fake, 3 pump fake, like all of that stuff. You know, fouling him before he could get an offensive rebound, like having Bam box him out, like making his life a living hell in every way. Like not challenging him at the rim. Like how many blocks does he have through 2 games? Does he have a block? Does he have maybe 1 block, 2 blocks, whatever? I don't think it's a lot, but we haven't felt his rim protection because they're not challenging him there. And you know what? That stuff motivates him, and that stuff gets him going. And Miami has been super freaking smart. And they've not taken him out of the series, but they've neutralized him a lot. And like, yeah, it is on Mitch to be better, but like, it's why, again, I think this is a Hartenstein series. And shout out to Chris Persiani. He texted me this 2 days ago, and I agree with him. I think it's a good point.
Birthday boy, Chris Persiani.
Ah, happy birthday, Chris. Listen, man. They don't bring the rat out for just anyone at Chuck E. Cheese. You got that dancing rat. Be thankful, man. That rat, that's a special. That's like a step down from like Ronald McDonald. That's, so I hope you enjoy your prize. The whole thing. Shout out to you, Chris. Dan Hidalgo. If you told me the Knicks would be 1-1 in the second round at the start of the season, I'm signing 8 days a week. We're building. Well, that's perspective. Yes. That's perspective. Janky AF. 2 diapers equal 1 playoff diaper. Both soaked through. Yeah. Yeah. A little wet. A little wet. A little brown. Wet and brown. Ham DM. Thought IQ had nice back-to-back plays. Completely, yeah, those baskets were big. I think he needs to push the ball before the zone defense is set. Yeah, I mean, I think, look, I may be speaking out of turn here. Maybe this is wrong. I feel like they're challenging his ball handling this series and really making him show that aspect of his game. There were a couple of times in this game where I wondered why they weren't screening for him. And then as I'm saying that out loud now, I'm thinking to myself, well, if they screen for him, then aren't they just switching the screen and forcing Quickly to try to take, I mean, even if it was Cody Zeller or something, trying to take Zeller one-on-one and or make the quick pass. Like, I think Quickly might be a little bit of a victim of like, okay, we have a lot more time to game plan for you. Quickly is like, he's made the most of his abilities this year, and credit to him for that. But is Miami able to take away a lot of that because they just have the tape and the whole thing? And yeah, I don't know. I again, I want to speak to someone a little bit smarter than me about Quickly and his kind of ineffectiveness, so to speak, in this play. But I also want to go back and rewatch those 2 plays in the fourth quarter, because very clear he made those work for him just fine. And can we go back to more of that? What was Miami doing on those plays? What was he doing on those plays? I want to see that. Thanks, Hamdi. Hush Zoo, what's going on, Hush? Shakespeare couldn't be able to tell a story of the amount of different emotions that game just put me through. Nonetheless, thank God for JB. Thank you, Cuban. Yes. Again, Benji stole my thunder when he said that. How many times did the Knicks? They made a push, couple baskets in a row, whatever it was, big shot, and Miami would just drain a big 3. And they drained big 3 after big 3 throughout the first half, throughout the third quarter, and really for a lot of the way in the fourth quarter. Just kept draining big 3s after big 3s. And like that's the other reason why, like, I'm sure Miami's feeling fine tonight, as they should be, by the way. But like, that game was there, and they made a lot of big plays. And that, I mean, just watching the game again, I'll say it. Maybe it makes me a bad Knicks fan. Watching that game, every time Miami made one of those big plays, I was like, man, they're going to lose this game. The Knicks are going to lose this game. It's just the gut feeling I had. And thank Christ it didn't turn out to be right. And I just, Miami's the most mentally strong team probably in the league, other than Golden State, probably. But I'm sure they'll bounce back fine. But again, that's why I tried to make it more about the Knicks to start out. Like, the Knicks were the ones taking those body blows after they would give Miami a body blow. And the Knicks are the team that withstood it. And the Knicks are the team that found themselves and succeeded when the game was on the line. So can they now parlay that into more positive play and more Knicks basketball for the rest of the series? Vincent Russo, I need advice, KFS. My wife is going to be included in I think you mean induced Sunday night. Is there a way to keep all of the doctors quiet so I can watch the game Monday, or should I get divorced now? Oh my God, these are my viewers, to borrow a Bill Simmons line. I can't wait to watch the Knicks with the new baby girl. Well, first of all, congratulations to you. Second of all, if my wife could figure out a way to be in the post-game comments, it was about an hour after she gave birth, Andrew? Hour and a half?
At close to most recently. Way too soon after she had just given birth.
It was much, yeah. And I didn't miss a minute of that game, that Pistons game. Shout out to Isabel Ava Macri. Coxsackie and all. Listen, you'll figure it out. Don't get divorced yet. Greg Moran, what's going on, Greg? Josh Hart and Jalen Brunson. Q Rod Stewart's. Have I told you lately that I love you? Winning players make winning plays. Scott Foster, not the hero we deserved, but the hero we needed. That's the line of the night. Oh man, nothing less than a night shining. Let's freaking go Knicks. Let's go KFS. Great. Kevin Danishevsky. What's going on, Kev? How are you, my man? I think we found our death lineup. So what's that? Hartenstein, Randle, Brunson, Hart, and Grimes. You know what's nice about this team? They legitimately could have 3 or 4 different death lineups, which kind of by definition doesn't make them death lineups. But like, that is their best thing that they have going for them, is the fact that there's an argument that the best, and let me finish reading your comment because it speaks to this. So happy with Tibbs, was exactly the lineup I wanted to close with. Grimes didn't even make a 3, but was awesome. There's an argument that, I mean, I don't know if you can legitimately argue that RJ was the best Knick in this game, but like, I think you could make an argument. I think that's a legitimate argument that RJ Barrett was the most important Knick in this game. I know Jalen Brunson scored all the points in the second half and all the points down the stretch. He was also abysmal defensively and had a bad first half that contributed to, and that was part of how Miami was defending him, which had to do with who the Knicks had on the floor and the lack of spacing, and it all ties together. But like, the point is, RJ was amazing, and he was off the floor at the end of the game. Like, that speaks to their depth. It also speaks to the fact that it's like not the most perfectly constructed roster, and I do want to pay respect to that very valid point. And you know, it's going to be, we're not talking off season right now, but like, you know, it all factors in. It all factors in. Thanks, Kev. Lunas, what's going on, Lunas? Lunas and Murad. Ben, so much fun to see this RJ leap in real time in the biggest games of his life. This RJ looks like an all-star. Also, also HM money. I don't know what the HM refers to, but I think this is a question about, this is a question. Do you think IQ has lost money this offseason?
How much money?
Oh, how much money do you think IQ has lost this postseason? Not that much, because we're living in the moment right now. And at some point, the Knicks will either get eliminated from the playoffs or win the championship. But after that point, there will be a cooling down period, and we'll recalibrate. And like, did he lose some money? Like, yeah, as of now, he's certainly lost some money. Are they all of a sudden going to be able to sign him for like the mid-level exception? No, like that's not the case. I mean, this is still a player, and like, you know, what he did during the regular, like, again, it's two different conversations. One, RJ or Emmanuel Quickley is still an immensely valuable rotation player and like main contributing piece on a regular season roster. And two, whatever he does or does not do in this postseason, which comes after his third season in the league, and he's 22 years old. And like you're asking him to adjust yet again from the role he's kind of had for most of the season to now a different kind of role where he gets less usage. And he's like, that doesn't speak one iota to what this player is going to be moving forward, So do I think that it may impact? Well, again, I'm not doing off-season talk, but look, everything matters. It's all evidence, right? It's all evidence. If the Knicks go on and like do well for the rest of the series and maybe do, pretty well in the next series, again, I'm just talking out of my ass, but like, and they have a very specific formula that seems to be working for them over that time. And IQ is marginalized in that formula. And then there is an opportunity to make perhaps some sort of move in the offseason. And that move requires you to include one or more young players. Well, like, it's all evidence, it's all evidence, but we'll have those conversations when the time comes. A lot of basketball left to be played. Claudio Santos with another one. Claudio, you've got to respect Miami. Yes. Their role players are outplaying ours. Yes. But you can only go so far depending so heavily on the likes of Gabe Vincent, Max Strus, etc. Man, watching these freaking games. Like Gabe Vincent, man, he only hit 4 threes tonight. It felt like he hit 8. But he ended up with 21 points on 17 shots. Like Max Strus was 3 of 7 from deep. Like, that's not crazy. Duncan Robinson was 3 of 8 from deep. That's not crazy at all. Cody Zeller, is a pro. He only played 7 minutes. Lowry and Love are the two ones that now Love. I'm not talking about getting lucky. Love was 2 of 9 tonight. 2 of 8 from 3. And then Cody Martin. Like Cody Martin's another guy. Like Cody Martin has ball skills. He can put the ball on the floor. He can do some things. I don't remember Cody Martin as a draft prospect at all. I'm not going to pretend that I do. Cody Martin is on the Charlotte Hornets, correct? Bad job by me. I'm not going to pretend that I remember Caleb Martin as a draft prospect. I can only assume that he went undrafted because his jump shot was poo-poo before the draft. And I know his jump shot is still not great. But like that dude could do a lot of stuff, not a great defensive player, but like he on offense, he could put the ball on the floor and he could do some things. Like his ball skills, like those seem very legit to me. And I'm not just saying it from this series. I feel like we've watched that guy do some nice things over the last few years. So anyway, Matt Smith, what's going on, Matt? Seems like there are some very easy adjustments for Tibbs to make. I'll let the expert Benji weigh in, but it feels like we're leaving a lot of meat on the bone. Let's turn this into a 3-game series. Yeah, that's got to be the goal right now. I don't know about a lot of meat on the bone because, like, the Heat are standing there trying to prevent you from I don't even know how to extend this analogy. They're like what's a way you prevent someone from eating a meal that's right in front of them? I don't know. You smack them every time they go to take a bite. Again, the analogy is broken down. The point is, the Heat are doing a nice job of preventing the Knicks from doing what they want to do. To me, the only easy adjustment is, and again, I say this like easy adjustment, to move the guy that just contributed massively to you winning the game, to move that guy out of the starting lineup. That's the easy adjustment to me, and then, but just like cleaning up the defensive stuff that Benji talked about, and like guarding the 3-point line, and like not switching, and like how you respond to the screens and all that. Like, I don't think that's like an X's and O's adjustment. That's just like be sound. Be sound. I'm sure they talk about this shit and go over it and film and the whole thing. Like, just be sound and execute. Yeah. Alex, what's going on, Alex? Just got to steal one of the next two. Yep. I'm sure John already said that. Yep. Keep plugging away. Yep. That was as unfun a win as I could remember. I thought that was a blast. It was not fun during the game, but it was a blast to end it. It makes up for the first 42 minutes. So tense, tons of bad plays, nothing from IQ or Obi. We could be better. Yeah, I don't know. I know there's like a subset of Knicks fans who like all that matters to them is like what Quickly does and Obi does and Grimes does and like I guess RJ does. And to that subset of fans, I'm sure maybe the fourth quarter was like less exciting. I'm not saying that's you, Alex, but I thought it was pretty thrilling. Dom the Dentist, so many illegal screens. Hashtag Nixon 6. Yeah, but they're not calling them. And they're not going to start calling them, I don't think. So, I don't know what you do. Will Oliver. Hartenstein's heart and hustle won us the fourth quarter and set the tone for the path forward to this win. Some concerning stuff, but we gritted it out. Yes, it's all concerning. We could do both, right? Why not both? Tons of concerning stuff, but be exuberant about the win and be happy about the win and be hopeful that this win can absolutely parlay them or parlay into and propel them. That was the word I was looking for. Propel them into bigger and better things this series. You win or you learn, and sometimes you do both. Completely agree about Hartenstein, by the way. Thanks, Will. Hush Zoo. I need IQ to sit in a room and watch film of how to break a zone. Has been pretty disappointing this whole playoff run outside of Game 5 and his defense. Yeah, again, it's a tough environment. Tough environment, and like again, that's why I really wanted Benji started talking about and like how much is on IQ and how much is on the coaching staff or whatever it is, not empowering him or however you want to phrase it. And I thought his response was really interesting where he was like, like the player does have to own a lot of this. While at the same time acknowledging his role has been very different and his usage has been very different and the whole thing. It's, it's tough. It's tough. But the thing I just don't want to hear is like, shockingly, I don't want. I hate the black and white. Like the truth is in the gray area in between. Let's acknowledge that. Thanks, Hush. Drew P. Dare Bam to shoot. Sit Obi. Small ball, please. Hit small ball, please, and hit threes. Well, they hit threes. I disagree with small ball. I think, like, again, you have a team that is trying to take you out of what you want to do in the Miami Heat. So you're going to take what has been your biggest strength all year, which is offensive rebounding, and you're going to vanquish that by going small. That's letting the opponent get to you. Do what you do. Win the way you. There is absolutely zero evidence that I have from this series that the Knicks cannot play a traditional center and continue trying to play ball the way they do. I understand, yes, like, oh my goodness, they're getting these threes and the whole thing and switch everything. And just, like, no, it's not how they play. And again, I would implore you, look at the final numbers. This team the Miami Heat hit so many freaking huge threes tonight. Tough threes, too. Got some open ones, got a lot of open ones, but tough threes. The percentages even out at the end of the day. So like the notion that we're supposed to play small ball and abandon our centers because the Miami Heat are hitting some threes, that's feeding into what they want to do. As far as sitting Obi, we'll see, and daring Bam to shoot. Yes. But to a certain extent, because he's really good certainly from the short mid-range, and he's not that bad from the long mid-range either. Thanks, Drew. True statement. What's going on, Drew? We have to tie up the loose ends around the arc. Yes. I suppose strategy was to shoot us out of the gym. Yeah, and it almost worked. Thank you for all you do, Mac and Drew. Hashtag Randle back. You're very welcome. It's a pleasure to do it. Although I feel like this is one of those nights that I'm making more enemies than friends. Hopefully not. Jacob, what's going on, Jacob Slavit? This game encapsulates how we have been all season. Totally agree. Totally agree. It's a great call. We always get back up. Feels like a much-needed get-right game for Julius and JB. Let's freaking go Knicks. Yeah, don't give up hope. I love this comment. I really do. I said it a few times already. This team has been defined by their style of play. They know what they want to do, and they execute it, and they are resilient. And that last 6 minutes, they showed both of those things. They got back to playing Knicks basketball, and they were resilient. Appreciate that, Jacob. Hush with another one. I was going to rip Tibbs a new one for not putting back RJ, but Hart being a sneaky clutch player, he made me eat my words. Was a great lineup in the clutch. I don't think we could say that Josh Hart is a sneaky clutch player after having watched him since he got here. That dude, I don't know what he's shooting from three in the fourth quarters of close games. I think it's pretty good. He's not sneaky anything. He's been in your face clutch player since like the Utah game. So again, tough decisions, but that's why coaches get paid. David Crockett, what's going on, David? Always a pleasure to hear from you, my friend. When a team is committed to shooting 53s, your defense is just going to sweat. That was a slow bake, but a really good win. Yeah, thank you, David. Always appreciate your thoughtful insights. If teams are going to shoot threes, there's no foolproof defense to that. The closest thing is, as Benji said, let him drive. Let him drive. And then they did that, and sometimes it went well. But, okay, so you're letting guys, drive where it's a momentary advantage, where they have the numbers advantage, and you're relying on your help guys. And then, by the way, when you rely on your help guys, if that driver all of a sudden kicks, okay, well, then there's a help guy there. But is there a help guy on the next kick? And the next kick? And the next? And, how many times did Miami... That's why, you have to give their players credit. I know we want to make this team out to be this group of has-beens and never-wases. And, this is hard. It's hard to, one, make the shots, to make the defense defend you in a way where they're, scared of you shooting threes. And then, when they defend you differently, when they're okay, put the ball on the floor, to be able to make the right plays to make the team, to make the opponent suffer there. Can we please just give some respect to this freaking team? I know they didn't have Butler tonight, but man. Miguel Amante, what's going on, Miguel? We withstood an onslaught from their guards with our bench giving us nothing and still came out on top, albeit without Butler. I still have hope for this series. # let's go Knicks. Yeah, nothing to add there. Well said, Miguel. Appreciate that. Mario Cristo Goat. Congrats to the Knicks on the win. Heat in 5. Is this a Heat fan? Jimmy Buckets is going to come out on a mission game 3.
What gave it away that this is a Heat fan?
I can't see his avatar.
No. The comment, John.
Yeah, well, yeah, okay.
He said Heat in 5. I don't know what his avatar is, but regardless, yes, they have infiltrated. Our comment section from game 1 was very much the Giancarlo Hive coming to his rescue.
Mario, thank you for the generous contribution.
Say it. Say it. What do you think of Heat fans?
Fuck the Heat.
Yeah. Oh, Mercury. Let's fucking go. Now say it about Pat Riley.
No, I can't.
I tried.
Thanks, Mario. Appreciate your infiltration. Anthony Sixto, what's going on, Anthony? Randle finding his playoff form. Brunson arriving in the fourth. Melo cheering. Starks barking. I don't care who we play. That was one of my favorite MSG quarters of the year. Thank you, Anthony. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. That's the right attitude to have, man. Thank you. Appreciate that comment. Jessica, what's going on, Jessica? This was a must-win game, yes. Is Julius Randle perfect? No, not at all. Am I happy to see him back in, and do I think he made a difference? Absolutely. Let's go Knicks. Yeah, I feel so bad about that very stupid, I don't even know what to call it, baseline misstep. You know what it reminded me, though, of? I don't know if Andrew even remembers this. In Game 7, the missed finger roll game, I'm fairly certain down the stretch of that game, a pacer got called for a similar that violation.
Wasn't that an Antonio Davis play?
It might have been. I'm fairly certain it was Game 7 in '95.
Listen, you want to talk about late game hiccups with a big lead? Steph Curry just called a timeout when his team had no timeouts like 2 weeks ago. That's Steph Curry. You know.
Meanwhile, 10 minutes left in the game. The Lakers are up by 7 in Golden State. Let's keep this going so we can maybe watch the last 5 minutes of this game.
I forget who asked this earlier, but did Emmanuel quickly cost himself money? We'll see. You know who's gained himself a lot of money? His name is Austin Reeves.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, good Lord.
Can't let him go for the Lakers. Alex, thanks, John. You probably disagree with my last post. You made me feel but you made me feel better. Winning is more fun than fun is fun. No such thing as an unfun win. Yeah. Listen, everybody's entitled to their opinion. I just the reason that I chose to do this to the extent that I did is because I just wanted to feel good about the team that I rooted for. And I felt that there was a lot of positive coverage being left on the table, and I did not. And the beat writers for this team are amazing, but I just want to feel good about this basketball team, which is funny how I've kind of turned into more of a negative person, I think, over the years. I don't know. Maybe I have, maybe I haven't, but that's why the only thing that gets me is when I feel like, okay, this is an opportunity to be positive. Let's be positive. We got something to be positive about. Let's do it. Let's be positive. We could do that. We're capable of being positive as a fan base. We should be when the opportunity is there to do so. Thanks, Alex. Jibo. GMAC, how did RJ make this transformation overnight? I don't know. How do you think he did?
If you read the reports, it was a meeting with his trainer, Drew Hanlon, after Game 2 against the Cavs, where he changed his shooting form, and now he's gotten better. The ironic part is while he hit his threes tonight, three-point shooting hadn't really been there until tonight. So the thing I was actually most impressed about was his decision-making on his drives, where he was passing out and finding open players on the wing, which has always been my frustration with RJ, where once he hits the paint, he has tunnel vision. So I think it's a combination of things, Jibo. So I don't know why I needed to answer that question, but thank you for asking me that question. I will credit Aaron Rodgers with his performance tonight. How's that?
Yes. Steven Schiame, glad we got the W, but man, John, I hate how we've been officiated these first 2 games. That's fair. That's very fair. Yelling at my TV for these refs to call these Miami illegal screens. I mean, I don't know if that's going to change, man. I wish it did. It's very frustrating because they're so good at something that should be illegal, Meanwhile, this is what I was looking up. Yep, here we go. Make sure this is for the postseason. Yeah. Rowan Alexander Barrett Jr. He's the 31st leading scorer in the playoffs in terms of average points per game. He's averaging 19.6 a game. He's 19.6 points. Yeah, 19.6 points per game. The shooting isn't still great, 45.7% overall and 31.7% from 3, 70.7% from the line. But again, this is the playoffs, and if you go to the NBA stats page, and again, 31st, and you scroll up, I mean, just again, some of the names that he's around, like higher than Karl Anthony Towns, higher than Jaren Jackson Jr., higher than Drew Holiday, higher than Bam, a little bit lower than Joel Embiid, a little bit lower than Klay Thompson, a little bit lower than Darius Garland, a little bit lower than Anthony Davis. Like, this is the company he's kept as a scorer in these playoffs. And you scroll up and down and you look at the percentages for these guys. Like, yeah, he's not that efficient. But guess what? It's the playoffs. No one's as efficient as they usually are in the regular season. So his inefficiency doesn't even look that bad, which obviously he's made up for a big time in the last 5 games. And then you factor in, well, what else is he doing? Because all these other guys are doing all these other things. Well, guess what? He's doing all the other things too. He's rebounding and decision-making well and assists and the whole and defense, all of the things. And then you look around at the players that are around him with all of these different considerations, and they're all-star caliber players. What other conclusion is there to draw about RJ Barrett this postseason that he is performing like an all-star on the biggest stage? There is no other conclusion to draw. That is the conclusion. Danny Gardner, what's going on, Danny? Gonna be screaming, get a hand up for 3 days. Yeah. Clean it up. Clean it up, clean it up, clean it up. Vincent Russo, RJ looked unstoppable, then they stopped looking for him. What gives? Well, Miami defense gives a little bit. That's a big part of it. But also Jalen Brunson got going there in the second half. You got to give credit where credit is due. I know I just gave all the praise in the world to RJ Barrett, and he deserves every bit of it. I think he was also 2 of 7 or 2 of 8 in the second half. I think 2 of it depends on how many shots. I know he was 6 of 10 in the first half from the field, and he ended up 8 of 17. So he was 2 of 7 in the first half, or in the second half rather. So it's not like he didn't get any shots. Got shots. It's okay, and they could have probably gone to him more. In fairness, anyway. Colin, what's going on, Colin? Hoof. This reeks of the 2013 Pacers series, but we move. Again, perspective. That team had gone all in on old guys. They had traded everything for Carmelo. They were capped out beyond belief. That was their year. They were the 2 seed. They won 54 games. They were losing to an underdog that, again, I know the Miami Heat are technically an underdog. It's a little bit of a different animal when you consider where that they've been. Yeah, and that Knicks team, Andrew's reminding me, they won that game too a lot more easily. I'm not comparing those 2 teams. I can't compare these 2 teams. Completely different. Danny with another one. Have been watching all the games from Stout by MSG. Good bar. Left halfway through the 4th to go to a quieter bar to contain myself. Good job by you. Currently resisting the urge to scream on the walk back to my apartment. 1-1. Let's fucking go. My wife. So brought the kid to the urgent care. My wife got her to sleep. Came back out. Probably a little bit after halftime. With my older daughter, by the way, sleeping on the couch. She's still sleeping on the couch. She hasn't moved. She's been sleeping through all of this. Because, again, we got home and, I didn't want to put her to bed because the game was on and the whole – just life is a parent. Anyway, moral of the story, my wife during the 4th quarter with our daughter here, and my wife is big on, don't yell, don't wake the kids, let out a little scream. I think it was on either the Brunson 3 or the second Hart 3, I think. And she let out, and it was the most animated I've ever seen her in watching. And we started watching Knicks games together in 2013. Speak of the devil, in 2013, that playoff run. That's when that season we started watching games together. Most animated I've ever seen her. Peter Friend. If that's the best they could do with Butler out, then this is done in 5. Okay, here comes the negativity. Maybe the 3 days off helps Randle and Brunson. What the heck happened to IQ? Yeah, look, maybe it is Heat in 5. Again, it wouldn't shock me, but that just seems really aloof in terms of what this team has been all year and the fight that they've showed and the character that they have. And I don't think this series is ending in 5. I'll just say that. Sometimes you got to find yourself. I think they found themselves tonight. We'll see. Alex, 1 win in Miami, and that's it. 53 wins. Hashtag 53 wins. And then some. Hopefully. That'd be nice. Thanks, Alex. Hush with another one. A great advantage Knicks have got. We got a home court, all 7 games. MSG South, here we come. If you're Tibbs, what adjustment do you make into game 3? Just show the film with the 3-pointers. To me, I'm not showing any film. I mean, I'm sure they'll show a lot of film, but like, I thought the offensive process, given what the Heat were giving them in this game, was sound. I'd make a personnel change and move Grimes into the starting 5 and just clean up the defense. Just clean it up. That's it. Thanks, Hush. I-95 Bully, what's going on at I-95? Help me. Why is the weak side defense so bad? It's because they're helping. I don't know what to say. No, Jimmy, why overcommit on the strong side? Because they're worried about their shooters either shooting or driving. Like, their shooters have them spooked. Their shooters are having them play over every screen, and then, occasionally they're trapped. No, I think the trapping is a bit much. The trapping is certainly a bit much. But like they're like, this is what happens when a team makes shots. The Heat are making shots. They're respecting their shooters. And their shooters are putting the ball on the floor and making the right kick out and making the right reads and all of these things. Like I let me finish reading the comment. The same defensive issues from game 1. Smart adjustments to close out the game from Tibbs. Bam is a monster. Yeah, I agree with all that. Like, Can we give some credit to the players on the Miami Heat who are doing the things like that they're doing, and the fact that, like, I understand in theory this collective of players should be easier to guard. The reality is they're not easy to guard. They have skills. Like, they're good. They can hit shots. Caleb Martin, man, that dude puts the ball on the floor. Kyle Lowry, Jesus Christ, could he put the ball on the floor still at his advanced age? Like not Max Strus, Gabe Vincent. They tried to come at him, and like that dude keeps his dribble alive. Like these guys are good, man. They're good. Chris Carter, are we certain the IQ extension still starts with a 1? Not as sure as I was a couple weeks ago, that's for sure. Greg B. RJ going 5 for 9 from 3, kept the Knicks in the game. Every one of them was huge. Every one. Plus Brunson 6 for 10. Huge threes from Hart late. Will the best team from the 3-point line win this series? That's a great question. Would the Knicks lose this series if they outshot the Heat from 3? That's a great question. I don't think so. Yeah, I do think the best team from 3 will win this series. Sure. What the hell? Met Knicks 1. Heat are Bugs Bunny, and we are Elmer Fudd. They're so much smarter, and it's not funny. IQ waking up is our only hope to improve. I don't think that's our only hope to improve. And I don't think that they're much smarter. I think they're like, I think you're conflating a couple different things here. They've been here. They've done that. They are not succumbing to the pressure one iota. They are, playoff ready. Give them all the respect in the world for being playoff ready, making all the right plays, all the right decisions, all that stuff. But like painting the Knicks, I understand you're trying to go for a cute analogy here, but like painting the Knicks as Elmer Fudd, like, did you watch the last 6 minutes of that game? Seriously, did you watch the last 6 minutes of that game? Because that wasn't Elmer Fudd I was watching. That's in there. It's in there. It's just hard to get out because it's a different stage and a different level of pressure. And a lot of these guys have never been there before. So, I don't know, maybe have a little bit of understanding where that's concerned. Brian Lests. Teams take the personality of their best player, especially in late game situations. No disrespect to Julius, but when he was their best player, it showed. That's a fair comment. Now that it's Jalen Brunson, they close games differently. Completely agree. Change their team, change their organization. Jordan Miller. Surprised not to see RJ down the stretch. We spoke about this already. No, I'm not. Although you could certainly, wonder about it in the moment. That's for sure. Thanks, Jordan. Presley Depine. Thank you for your generous contribution. Appreciate you. Sam Garcia's dad. What's going on, Ray? On the LIRR with Sam Garcia's mom, this friggin' team will make us sweat for every playoff win, but I will take it. Hashtag let's freaking go Knicks. Yes. Again, this team is one win away. For all of the negativity that we've heard tonight, which is, frankly, I knew I would get some of it. I didn't think it would be this much. For all the negativity tonight, this century, 23 years, they're a win away from equaling their most playoff wins in this century. One win away. This team that most people had pegged as the 8th or the 9th seed. 8th being generous, 9th being, more likely coming into the year. Buzzer beater. Rit is right. If you're going to switch. Yes. Completely agree. Yanni Golan. Yo, KFS, this was Randall's best playoff game by far. Not that it has that much competition, but yes. Completely agree. Thank you, Yanni. Brian Less with another one. Also, the 24-second shot clock violation on Miami was so sad. Hate to see it. And also, I'm still frothed in sweat. Man, I miss the Knicks May basketball. Yeah, it's May. Again, it's May. We're playing. Hey, New York, 2023 playoffs. We back. Like, this is awesome. This is great. Thanks, Brian. Appreciate you again, man. Dom Cappuccini. What's going on, Dom? Thank you for the generous contribution. 40% from 3. Finally, my biggest positive for tonight and going forward. Not to mention that was without Quickly and Quentin Grimes joining the party. If Butler comes back, they won't be able to shoot 49 attempts. I think we found a possible X factor. We back. Now, painting the, Butler being back as a negative, I don't know if I could go that far. I do absolutely appreciate what you're saying in that it does change how they play. Look, they're going to have their hands so full. They have to play better. They didn't play well tonight. They got bailed out by how well they shot from 3 because the evidence says that we are not a 40% three-point shooting team. And they got bailed out by the three-point shooting, and they got bailed out by just really the 3 best players all played good games. And RJ Barrett is once again one of the 3 best players. Got to play better. Got to clean it up. Got to be more sound. Got to execute better. It's going to be a freaking battle, but they could get one of these. They need to get one of these. I'm watching this Laker Warriors game is wild. Kevin Danishevsky. Randall's first really good, complete playoff game. Great to see. If Emmanuel Quickly can get going, we win this series. Game had Game 2 versus Hawks vibes, but we'll win this time. I don't it's a different team. It's a different series. Let's let this series be its own thing. And as far as if Quickly can get going, we win the series. I think Quickly getting going would help. I don't think I think they could win this series if quickly doesn't get going. I think they could lose the series if quickly doesn't get going. I saw him as the X factor going in. I'm kind of backed off that at this point. Back on Grimes. Zach Hara, what's going on, Zach? What up, fan? Not a lot to say. Just glad the win means more Knicks ball in this magical season. Back to road dogs where we have thrived. Here we go, Knicks. Yes. Sam Garcia's urologist is going to be busy after this one. Miss Hart is due soon. I fear Hart missing a crucial game in this series for the birth of his babies. Good news for him. Not bad for the Knicks. And the Warriors finally get the 3 that they need. I don't think his wife is due for a little while. I looked this up like a month and a half ago. Sam Garcia's urologist with another one. P.S. I hope I didn't violate any HIPAA violation, any HIPAA laws. Oh, well, I'll just blame GMAC. Oh, man, there's a story that I could tell right now, but I won't do it because I'd be incriminating myself. I'll just leave that one there. Michael Joseph, what's going on, Michael? Living, dying, and living again since 1980 with this team. This group is different. Yes, that's the energy we need. Yes. Appreciate all you do, KFS. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you for watching, and thank you for being so positive and for the generous contribution, really. Dom Cappuccini with another one. I'll second Kevin with the Game 2 vibes from 2 years ago. The difference is that our team is ready for the road drama. They're ready for business. I think it's a different team. I think it's a different squad. I think it's a different mentality. And also, there's one absolutely massive difference, which everyone who's comparing this to Game 2 2 years ago seems to be ignoring. This team won a playoff series. They won a playoff series. They won 4 playoff games against a team with the second best net rating in the sport. They did that this year. It was a week ago. It just happened. So, that's a difference. They showed they could do it already. Big difference, guys. Todd Rahulich, J-Mac, pretty disappointing first 2 games. I mean, sure. On the whole, is it disappointing? Yeah. Oh my God, Curry just hit 3.
Stop spoiling.
What do you want me to do?
There are people watching along as listening. Just don't call the game. Okay. See, don't say is all I'm saying.
It's really hard because I just watched a 14-0 run happen.
I'm watching it too, but now I knew the last 3 points were going to be scored because you said Curry.
Sorry, I won't say anything. All right, Todd, if you're disappointed in the overall outcome of the first 2 games, I'm not going to blame you one bit for being disappointed. But I do think, considering all the angles at this point, where it's shouldn't feel that terrible. Miami has us off our game. They did until the end there. We'll see what happens when Butler gets back. What coaching adjustments would you like to see us make for us to get back to Knicks basketball? Clean up the defense. Get Grimes out there on the floor. I'm sorry to keep repeating myself. I don't have a whole lot else. Because I think for as good as Miami looked and for as bad as we looked for parts of this game, I think those are the 2 things that really, that's it. Just clean up the defense. Thanks, Todd. Sam Garcia, Kevin Love on the mid-level exception to back up Julius next year. Well, one step at a time. Let's not get Obi off the team just yet. Blakayana Tiana. Okay. It seemed at times we played not to lose. To me, playing not to lose is something that when you go up with a big lead. I mean, God knows we've seen the Knicks do that this year. I don't think that was this game. I'm not sure I agree with that comment for this game in particular. They were definitely off their game. I'll say that. Real Rel, what's going on, Real Rel? Scott Foster over Tony Brothers. I mean it. Larry Brown. Coach of the what a great Knick team that was. Can't lie. Glad we had the extender officiating. It saved our bacon tonight. Kevin Danishevsky. Advice to Knicks fans struggling to appreciate this win. Do what I do. Listen to a John post game from the first year. I'm going to listen to the Portland collapse tonight. Hey, well, what do you – hold on. You're talking – oh, from last year. From last year. I thought you were saying from the first year. The first year, which I think you could still find those post games, although I don't know if we ever converted them over to our current like where we host our podcast, but like
we did.
Yes.
Whole library is available on the feed.
Is it?
Yes.
So why am I still paying for libs and backup storage? I can stop paying that bill.
I have no idea. Didn't know you were still doing that, to be honest.
I've been paying $5 a month for like the last 2 years just to keep those things there.
Hopefully the IRS can reimburse you for that.
I don't think they will. Okay, good to know. Go listen to some pods from the 2018-19 season for some perspective. Yeah. Dylan Booth, what's going on, Dylan? That was so much fun, but actual 6 man of the year, Emmanuel Quickly, has completely disappeared, and Grimes forgot how to shoot. Could we win this series without them? I think Grimes. I'm not burying Quentin Grimes just yet. He took 2 threes tonight. He missed them, but he took 2 threes. Took 3 threes in the first game, made 1. Like, they're on him. They're on him every time he touches the fucking ball. Figure out a way to get that dude shots. Quickly, a little bit more concerning. Well, I also understand it. Like how they're doing it, why they're doing it. Hajzu, also, regardless of this game, I went Randle being back, how this game went. Randle being back changed everything. Bam being on him helps out our big so much. Clean this stuff up, Knicks in 6. You know, Mitch was still neutralized a little bit. I feel like Mitch got, how many offensive rebounds did he get? Mitch got 3 offensive rebounds. Hartenstein got 4 in 26 minutes. So definitely 7 offensive rebounds from your 2 centers. So it helped. Thanks, Hushu. Bill Leheka. People who are feeling bad about tonight's win obviously never grew up during the 90s. Survive and move on. This series won't be pretty. It's just so hard to, like, nobody's feeling great about themselves during playoff basketball. They're just not. That's what happens when you pit two good teams against each other. You know? Thanks, Bill. Appreciate that perspective. Buzzer Beater, have you seen the Nat Clifton Sweetwater film? I haven't yet. I'm excited to see it. I like some of the casting decisions they made in that film. Not that I'm going to pretend to know that, oh my God, who do they have playing Ned Irish and the head coach? I like both of the guys they got to play the coach and Ned Irish, who was the owner of the team back then. But the film looks great. I'm looking forward to seeing it. I really want to see it. Nat Sweetwater Clifton, I'm happy he's getting this film made about him. I'm happy he's getting the attention, aside from having maybe the best nickname in Knicks history. Monumentally important figure in professional American sports history. And one of the greatest Knicks of all time for sure.
That would be Kerry Elwes and Jeremy Piven from
That's
Entourage.
it. Piven's playing the coach, right?
Right.
And Elwes is, that's right. Elwes
Joe
is
Lapchick.
Did I say Ned Irish?
Oh, that's who Kerry Elwes is playing. Joe Lapchick is played by Jeremy Piven.
Who's playing Ned?
Ned Irish is played by Wesley from The Princess Bride.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're in agreement.
Okay. Just making sure. Buzzer beater. Sims is out. Can we pick up? Can we pick a big off of the free agent pile? Sadly, no. Sorry. Jason Feldman. iHeart saved their season. By God, I'm exhausted. Yes, he did. Damn right about that. Thanks, Jason. Danny Gardner. Important to remember how young this team is. Thank you. Again, more perspective. I love perspective. I feel like sometimes I'm the only one out here giving perspective. Guys like Quickly, Obi, and Grimes will grow from this. It makes what RJ's doing even more impressive. Amen to that. And by the way, you know who's not like old? Like, Jalen Brunson's not old. I know he lit up the playoffs last year. That dude's not old. This is still all new from him as the main guy on the team. Massively impressive what he's doing. How about Josh Hart? How about Josh freaking Hart? First playoffs. Again, I know he's not 21, 22, but massively important what he's doing. Massively important. Dom Cappuccino, Cappuccini, hashtag Mello, come back for game 5. I believe it will be meaningful. 3 to the Dome, hashtag we back, and we will be back in the Garden soon. Okay. Thank you, Dom.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. Can I spoil the Laker game now or no?
No.
Okay. Sam Garcia's dad. It was great to be at the Garden for playoff basketball again. Too many guys deserve game balls, but this game could have gone off the rails if RJ doesn't have the first quarter he had. I'll talk to Andrew about this when we're done with super chats. So let me know when we're on our last one. Thanks, Ray. Another one from Ray. In addition to RJ, Jalen Brunson, huge. Julius, huge. Hart, huge. Hashtag not settling for 53 wins. Nor should you. Thank you, Ray. Appreciate you again, man, for everything. Kevin Danishevsky, should be said, the Knicks did a good job on Bam. Yeah, he's a tough guy to defend, and I think, yeah, they did a good job. Appreciate that, Kev. Alex, maybe I'm crazy, but I think we will get better the more we see Miami is doing on offense. I know Spo and Jimmy are great, but I think we have more wrinkles and improvements to come. So I think the question here is, that's a great point, Alex. You always make so many good points. I give you shit, but you make a lot of good points. I think there is this fear, for me at least, of Spo having this bottomless bag of tricks. And I'm sure he has more stuff up his sleeve. But I agree with you. The more you see, the more you know. I think that's a G.I. Joe, a version of a G.I. Joe line. G.O., I think we can get the ball into the paint to iHeart and let him facilitate when Miami runs zone. Yeah, I think that's completely, yeah, absolutely. 100%. Something to work on. Oh, wait, go back. I didn't get the, oh, wait, no, this is the previous comment from Sam Garcia's dad. The game balls are going to be tough. Go back to, what was the, no.
Hold on. I skipped Sam's. He had a second super chat. So read this one.
Well, I read them both. You got them
you
both.
did read them both.
Yeah, I got them both. Yeah,
bad job by me. Apologies, everybody.
Listen, you're okay, Andrew. You're okay.
Thank you.
More Grimes for spacing. Yes, this is Gio's comment again. Offense still stagnant, though percentages end up fine. How can the Knicks improve fluidity? I think spacing's always the key. Spacing's the key. I think their ball handlers, RJ, Brunson, Julius, those 3 guys, I think, made good decisions by and large tonight. Brunson struggled a little bit in the first half. We the threes they got were really good looks. We shouldn't. Were there possessions that were stagnant? Absolutely. There were possessions that were stagnant. And I think the Heat defense was getting to them a little bit, and the spacing didn't help, and there's definitely stuff to work out. But, sitting here, the notion of sitting here and being oh, my God, we got – no, I'm not saying that this is what you're saying, Gio, but, the notion oh, my God, we got bailed out by the shooting. I mean, they shot 40% from 3. You're an NBA team in 2023. 40% from 3 on mostly open looks should be – it's not something you should write home about, although for this team, I understand that it is, Anyway, Gio with another one. Also, big win. I'll take it however we can get it. Amen to that. Amen to that. And Bernard Richardson, what's going on, Bernard? I think they do, but I really hope this team realizes how much they're ingraining themselves into Knicks fandom history. New York forever. I think they're there for the most. I think they're almost there. I mean, look, the 2012-13 team. I don't need to, Andrew could speak to how much that team means to him. They lost in 6 in a playoff series that, they lost game 1. They went down 3-1 and, and that team was expected to do massive things, and they were built to do massive things in the moment. And that team's a part of Nick lore. You know, like, I mean, the Bernard team, right? The Bernard King team that pushed the Celtics to 7 in the second round. That team's part of Nick Lore. You know, it like I mean, hell, even, you know, like some teams in the early 80s. You know, Ray has written about the teams, like the first Knicks teams to feature, you know, like 5 black starters, how big that was. And that's a different reason for being a part of Nick Lore, but it's meaningful nonetheless. I mean, the sad truth is it doesn't take a lot, you know? It doesn't take a lot. It's such a weird place to be in, where you had this crazy underdog story this year, and they are an underdog story. Make no mistake about it, they're an underdog story. They're a team that was not picked to finish above 500, that has won a first-round playoff series after they won 47 games. And now we're in this weird position where it's like so many of us, I'm not sure I put myself in this category, but like a lot of people are like expecting to win this series and make it to the conference finals. Well, then guess what? When you get to the conference finals, all of a sudden you're talking about, okay, well, we're in the company of like 4 teams of the Ewing era and the championship years teams. And that's it, you know? So like, I think that's the point you're making, Bernard, is, but like, I guess my point in kind of pushing back is like, do they need to win this series to get into that special? Like, we want them to win the series. They can win the series. They're good enough to win the series. Do they need to do that to get into that special, like, inner circle? I don't know that they do. I think they've earned our love and respect so much already. Just go out playing your way. If that results in a series win, it results in a series win. If not, if it doesn't. But play Knick basketball. Anyway, I forgot what I was going to talk to Andrew about.
Game balls.
Oh, yeah. So my inclination right now, and as I'm saying this out loud, it just feels wrong. I think Brunson, RJ, and Randle in some order is the chalk pick, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I said it earlier, and I'll just say it again now. Not giving Hartenstein a game ball feels just very wrong.
Do they win this game without RJ? Do they win this game without?
They don't win this game without any of these players.
Yeah.
Or
I mean, look,
he's not even real consideration for me.
Can I ask you an honest question? Because I like what you do with the newsletter. I think it was over the weekend.
I gave 3 guys 1 star, so does Jalen Brunson deserve 3 stars for this game?
So this is what I'm going to ask you. Because of how everybody had their ups, everybody had their downs, is this a game where you just give out, like, does anybody just give out 6 stars?
I don't
know who the 6th would be.
No, but again, then you're singling out someone to get 2, and everybody else gets 1.
6. That's what I'm saying. If you give out 6,
if I give 2 to Brunson, 1 to Hartenstein, 1 to Hart, 1 to Randle, 1 to RJ, that feels like it's cheating, though.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. Did anybody stand out enough that they deserve 2? Or can this be a depth win where,
man, I know his defense sucked, but like, just the
Brunson.
cojones.
Yeah. Brunson would be my 1-2 star guy.
That's the guy.
Yeah.
That's the guy.
So then, give JB 2 stars for Jalen Brunson had 23 points in the second half.
It's just, it's again.
Yeah.
It's just, what are you supposed to say?
Yeah. So then Josh Hart can get a star. Randall gets a star. Hartenstein, RJ. They all get equal parts shout out. And then a reminder, the question of the year, where would we be without Jalen Brunson? Definitely not here.
Not we here. Can I say the Lakers result now?
Yes. The game, it's ended and people have seen it.
Gave up a 14-0 run late, but obviously I wasn't able to watch the game because the whole thing happened while we were doing this. But, I mean, impressive win by Anthony Davis, especially from what I could tell.
30 points, 23 rebounds, 5 assists, 4 blocks for Anthony Davis.
I mean, the fact that we are now very much in a world where like the Lakers making the conference finals is a thing that we need to think about.
We are listen, this is me just saying a thing, not projecting, not trying to jinx. We are 7 wins away from 2 teams from getting Knicks Lakers in the year that Reed
I knew you were
passed
going to
away.
go there. I knew you were going to.
I'm just saying, listen, this is a Robert Cross thing. And speaking of, one more.
Robert Cross, first time, long time, John. Of course. I expect to win this series and be that dark horse that found itself in the Eastern Conference Finals. Hashtag 53 wins. So I'll piggyback off of Andrew's tomfoolery, and I will just say that if they win this series, I'll jump out the window. Then I'll be like, let's go.
Oh, okay.
I think I have very, very serious concerns.
Oh, about the Heat? Absolutely.
About the Heat, yes.
Yeah. I'll just be completely honest with you. They're the one team I fear in the East remaining.
Oh, goodness gracious.
They'll have the coaching advantage on the Celtics. They beat the Celtics 3 out of 4 times. The Embiid question with the Sixers. And I'm sorry, I'm now treating the Heat like the Patriots. I will fear them because of who runs the show and the, institutional stability that apparently exists.
I mean, that we'll do the Patreon on Friday, but like the number of storylines. I mean, I don't want to say this out loud, but like there was a world where we could get a repeat of Lakers Heat from the bubble repeat.
That might be the show on Friday. What are the top 10 final storylines that could exist? Because there's if Embiid ends up getting help, exactly, Jokic Embiid, if it gets there. There's a rematch of last year. There's LeBron against the Celtics again, potential.
I mean, or just
Lakers Celtics. Yeah, that's right. Where's my head? Yeah, another chapter on Lakers Celtics.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's gonna be wild. Okay, this was great, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in. We appreciate you. We appreciate all the generous contributions from everybody.
One more from Robert.
One more from Robert, of course. Legend of GMAC, just like I predicted. Lakers versus Knicks. Hashtag 53 wins, of course. Speaking into existence, Robert, please.
One more.
One more.
One more win.
Oh,
and we got 53 wins.
Thanks for tuning in. Don't forget, if you're watching this and you somehow have not yet subscribed to this YouTube channel, please do so. And if you're listening in podcast form, I saw a couple very nice reviews came in. Appreciate that so much. The 5-star rating matters a lot too. Take the time. If you're still listening to this podcast and you have not taken the time to give a 5-star rating, ask yourself, I've listened to these people talk for 2 hours and 37 minutes. Can I take the extra minute to give a 5-star rating? That is the question. Hope the answer is yes. All right. We'll see you tomorrow. I'm recording with Tom Piccolo tonight. There you go.
Yeah. Yes. Tonight.
See everybody later. Peace out.